Officially nominates party President Thapa as prime ministerial candidate. 49 candidates withdraw nominations for FPTP election to HRR scheduled for March 5. Former Prime Minister Bhattarai among the withdrawing candidates. Nepal's National Assembly convenes today with Home Minister Aryal presenting 3 key ordinances. President Paudel observed Basanta Shravan ritual at Hanuman Dhoka. Goddess of Wisdom Saraswati worshipped on Sri Panchami today. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi dissolves lower house, paving the way for a snap general election on February 8th. And Satabata Youth Club registers first victory of the season, defeating Manang Marsiangdi Club 1-0 in the National League football match today. Good evening, I am April Singh Lama and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in details. Nepali Congress has officially nominated party President Gagan Kumar Thapa as its candidate for Prime Minister. The nomination was proposed by Vice President Vishwa Prakash Sharma, supported by Vice President Pushpa Bhusal and approved by the Central Working Committee. Addressing party members at the Congress office in Sanepa, Thapa declared that he has transformed the party and is now committed to transforming the country. Thapa emphasized that the party's sole focus moving forward is the nation's progress. Thapa's announcement marks the beginning of a new political chapter for both the Nepali Congress and Nepal's upcoming elections. "49 candidates across the country have withdrawn their nominations, filed for the first-past-the-post election to the House of Representatives scheduled for March 5, according to the Election Commission, EC. At a weekly news conference organized by the EC today, EC spokesperson Narayan Prasad Bhattarai shared that 49 candidates withdrew their candidacies from different constituencies so far. The EC is getting more information on this. According to the EC, election programs from filing candidacies to withdrawal of nominations were held in peaceful and enthusiastic manner. He opined that the final name list of candidates towards FPTP election has been released through 77 offices of chief returning officers and 88 offices of election officers across the country. These offices will provide election symbols to candidates of political parties as well as independent candidates from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. today itself, said EC's joint spokesperson Kulbahadur GC. Now, several candidates have withdrawn their nominations ahead of Nepal's upcoming House of Representatives elections. Former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai withdrew from Gorkha constituency number 2, stating he will support the candidate deemed necessary for the country while continuing to serve the people. In Manang district, UML candidate Polden Chopang Gurung and Rashtriya Prajatantra Party RPP candidate Kubir Singh Gurung have also filed for withdrawal, leaving the main contest between Nepali Congress nominee Tek Bahadur Gurung and Nepali Communist Party candidate Yashoda Subedi Gurung. Meanwhile, RPP candidate Karvika Thapa withdrew from Rupandehi constituency number 2 due to the 3-month period for renouncing her permanent residence permit not being completed. Election officials have confirmed that all withdrawal applications have been registered and decisions are being finalized, reshaping the electoral contest across several key constituencies. Moving on, one of the 4 former prime ministers in the fray for March 5 election, Dr. Baburam Bhattarai, has withdrawn his candidacy from Gorkha 2. In a message shared on social media, the Pragatishil Loktantrik Party chair said he decided to step aside at the request of leaders from other parties, including the Rashtriya Swatantra Party.
मसँग विभिन्न पक्षका साथीहरू, विभिन्न दलका साथीहरू, नयाँ पुराना दलका व्यक्तित्वहरूले चाहिँ साथमा आएर सल्लाह सुझाव के दिनुभयो भने तपाईहरु जस्तो व्यक्तित्वले एउटा साझा व्यक्तिको रूपमा रहनु उपयुक्त हुन्छ र एउटा सांसदको रूपमा एउटा दल विशेषको मात्रै रहँदाखेरि तपाईको भूमिका संकुचित रहन सक्छ र फेरि देशको जुन अहिले तरल अवस्था छ त्यसले अझै निश्चित आकार ग्रहण गरिसकेको पनि छैन। त्यसैले तपाईले चाहिँ चुनावी प्रतिस्पर्धामा लाग्नुभन्दा राजनीतिक दलहरूलाई भोलि बन्ने सरकारलाई विभिन्न ढंगले सल्लाह सुझाव दिएर भूमिका निर्वाह गर्दा नै बढी उपयुक्त हुन्छ भन्ने साथीहरूको आग्रह पनि रह्यो, दलहरूको पनि रह्यो, व्यक्तिहरूको पनि रह्यो र त्यहाँका जनताको पनि सुरुमा त्यहीको प्रतिनिधित्व भइदिए हुन्थ्यो भने जुन सोच थियो यो तर्क सुनिसकेपछि ठिकै छ भन्ने कुराहरू पनि आयो। कुनै कार्यकारी भूमिकामा नरहने र निर्वाचन पनि नलड्ने मैले उद्घोष गरेँ।
Janak Education Materials Center has so far printed a total of 14.28 million ballot papers. According to the details provided by the center, 1.16 million ballot papers have been printed in the last 24 hours alone. The center has stated that a total of 28.3 million ballot papers need to be printed. Similarly, a total of 11,478 boxes of ballot papers have been packed. The center has stated that only 1,226 boxes have been packed in the last 24 hours. The center has sent 198,200 sample ballot papers to the Commission. It's time for a short break. We will be right back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Welcome back. Nepal's National Assembly convened today with Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal presenting 3 key ordinances, including amendments to the Voters List Act, the House of Representatives Member Election Act, and the Nepal Special Service Act. Kamala Pant's chairperson of the Committee on Development, Economic Affairs and Good Governance, tabled the National Integrated Policy Study Report, while Tulasa Kumari Dahal, chairperson of the Legislative Management Committee, presented the committee's report on the Tourism Bill. Chairperson Narayan Prasad Dahal read letters from the President's office regarding the formation of the Council of Ministers and the assignment of their responsibilities. The Assembly also passed a condolence motion honouring the late former ministers Rishikesh Gautam, Muhammad Aftab Alam, Amod Prasad Upadhyay, Homnath Dahal and former MP Krishna Kumari Shrestha. The next session of the Upper House is scheduled for Tuesday, January 27 at 1:15 p.m. Now, the Nepalese government has approved the use of 5 ropani of land in Bhaktapur for the Provincial Public Health Laboratory and 1 ropani in Kavripalanchok for the Drinking Water and Sanitation Division No. 3 in Sundapal Chowk. Cabinet spokesperson and Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal confirmed the decisions taken at the January 22 meeting. The government also approved publishing the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol in the Nepali Gazette.
सिद्धार्थ राजमार्ग बुटवल पोखरा खण्ड सुधार आयोजनाको तयारीका लागि एसियाली पूर्वाधार लगानी बैंकबाट उपलब्ध हुने 2 मिलियन अमेरिकी डलर बराबरको अनुदान सहायता स्वीकार गर्ने, तोकिएको उद्योग व्यवसायको क्षेत्रमा स्वचालित मार्ग अटोमेटिक रुटबाट हुने विदेशी लगानीको माथिल्लो सीमा हटाउन स्वीकृति दिने, 2082 भदौ 23 र 24 गतेको प्रदर्शनको क्रममा भएको भौतिक एवं मानवीय क्षतिको यथार्थ छानबिन गरी प्रतिवेदन पेश गर्न गठित जाँचबुझ आयोगको म्याद 20 दिन थप गर्ने।
Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel observed the traditional Basant Shravan ritual at a special ceremony held at Nasal Chowk in Hanuman Thoka Darbar on the occasion of Basanta Panchami, also known as Sri Panchami. President Paudel listened to a special melody chanted by the priest of Hanuman Thoka Palace on the occasion. The ceremony included worship of Goddess Saraswati and was attended by the First Lady, Vice President, Prime Minister, senior government officials and other dignitaries, with the Nepal Army offering a ceremonial salute. Basanta Panchami marks the beginning of spring and is traditionally associated with prayers for knowledge, peace and prosperity. Sri Panchami, also known as Basanta Panchami, is being celebrated across Nepal today, marking a major Hindu festival dedicated to Goddess Saraswati, the deity of knowledge, learning and the arts. Observed on the 5th day of the lunar month of Magh, the festival is traditionally associated with the arrival of spring and the beginning of longer days. Devotees across the country are visiting Saraswati temples, while many families formally introduce young children to reading and writing on this day, believing it brings wisdom and academic success. Professionals such as teachers, students, writers, artists and musicians also worship their tools of work, symbolizing respect for learning and creativity. In Hindu belief, Basanta Panchami is considered an auspicious day for social and religious ceremonies without the need for astrologically fixed timings. However, such ceremonies are not being performed this year in Nepal due to unfavorable astrological position of Venus. Now, gold and silver prices in the local market have reached a new record high today. The price of the yellow metal has exceeded 300,000 Nepali rupees today, amounting to 301,400 rupees per 11.66 grams, which is equivalent to $62.66. Compared to yesterday, the price of gold has increased by 9,200 Nepali rupees per tola, while silver has risen by 320 Nepali rupees per tola, which is around $2.18. According to the Federation of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Association, the price of fine gold has been fixed at 301,400 Nepali rupees per tola, which is equivalent to $2,052.65, while silver is being traded at 6,190 rupees per 11.66 grams today, which is around $42.16. On the previous day, gold was traded at 292,200 Nepali rupees per 11.66 grams, while silver was priced at 5,870 rupees per 11.66 grams. Meanwhile, international media reports indicate that in the global market, gold is being traded at $4,960 per ounce, while silver is priced at $98 per ounce. Now, can you believe colors can be a powerful tool to empower women? In Kapil Vastu, art moved beyond aesthetics, becoming a platform for expression, culture and empowerment through a Rangoli competition rooted in Awadh tradition. Our colleague Sarah Sapsanama Rai, along with our local correspondent Basudev Burma, brings the story of empowerment with colors.
Red, yellow, green. These colored powders may seem ordinary, but here they carried the confidence of women claiming their space through art. With the aim of empowering women through the promotion of Awadh region painting and ground art, a Rangoli competition was organized in Tauli Hawa, the district headquarters of Kapil Vastu. Artists used colored powders on the ground to create Rangoli artworks depicting Ram Temple, Goddess Sita and Lord Ram, focused on promoting Awadh painting and ground art while strengthening women's participation in cultural expression. The program hosted artists from 11 different groups.
यो प्रतियोगिताले केवल कपिल वस्तु नगरपालिका भित्र लुकेका प्रतिभालाई मात्रै बाहिर नल्याई छिमेकी पालिकामा रहेको प्रतिभालाई समेटेर अगाडि ल्याएको कारणले पनि वास्तवमा यो संस्थालाई म विशेष धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु।
जसमा चाहिँ हामीले अवधि लोक चित्रकला अवधि लोककलालाई चाहिँ प्रस्तुत गरिएको छ। तपाईहरुले यहाँ हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ। अब उहाँले देखाउनुहुन्छ डिफ्रेन्ट ग्रुपले 11 जनाको ग्रुपले डिफ्रेन्ट चाहिँ रङ्गोली बनाछन् अनि त्यो रङ्गोलीमा चाहिँ झल्काउने कोसिस के छ भने अवधि हाम्रो जुन हिस्टोरिकल एउटा एन्सियन्ट अवधि लोककलालाई प्रस्तुत गर्ने चाहिँ कोसिस गरिएको छ।
The organizers also adjudged the winners and rewarded accordingly with cash prize and certificates. The event also marked 2 years since the consecration of infant form of Lord Ram, Sri Ram Lalla in Ayodhya, India. It added cultural and religious significance to the women-led artistic celebration.
Time again for another breather. We shall be back with updates from Global Front. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has dissolved the country's lower house, paving the way for a snap general election on February 8th. Lower House Speaker Fukushiro Nukaga formally announced the dissolution on Friday afternoon. It will be the first national election under Prime Minister Takaichi, who became Japan's first female leader just 3 months ago after winning leadership of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Official campaigning begins next Tuesday, with all 465 seats in the lower house up for grabs. Takaichi's ruling coalition currently holds a narrow majority, supported by 3 independent lawmakers. The Prime Minister is seeking to capitalize on strong approving ratings despite challenges including corruption scandals, economic pressures, and rising tensions with China over Taiwan. The election will also delay parliamentary approval of Japan's annual budget. Now, high-level talks on ending the war in Ukraine have taken place in Moscow, with Russian President Vladimir Putin holding marathon overnight discussions with envoys of U.S. President Donald Trump. The Kremlin confirmed the meeting lasted past 3 o'clock Friday morning and focused heavily on territorial issues, which Moscow insists must be resolved for any peace deal. Russia is demanding Ukraine withdraw its forces from eastern regions that Moscow claims to have annexed, despite never fully controlling them. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has criticized European allies for what he called a slow and fragmented response to Russia's invasion. Further, trilateral talks involving the United States, Russia and Ukraine are expected to begin in the United Arab Emirates as diplomatic efforts to end the nearly 4-year war intensify. The United States has officially withdrawn from the World Health Organization, ending decades of membership in the global health body. The decision was jointly announced by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. following an executive order signed by President Donald Trump. In a statement, the administration accused the WHO of failing during the COVID-19 pandemic, acting against U.S. interests and operating under a politicized and inefficient bureaucracy. All U.S. funding and staffing support for WHO initiatives has now ceased. Washington says future global health engagement will take place through direct bilateral partnerships instead. The move marks a significant shift in international public health cooperation and has drawn concern from global health experts worldwide. Now, moving on, the U.S. House of Representatives has narrowly rejected a resolution aimed at preventing President Donald J. Trump from deploying American troops to Venezuela without congressional approval. The vote ended in a 215 to 215 tie, which automatically resulted in the resolution's defeat. Only 2 Republicans joined all Democrats in supporting the measure. The resolution, introduced by Representative Jim McGovern, invoked war powers legislation to limit unauthorized military action. The outcome highlights growing divisions within the Republican-controlled Congress and underscores House Speaker Mike Johnson's fragile grip on the majority. A similar resolution in the U.S. Senate was also deadlocked last week, raising questions over congressional oversight of U.S. military actions in the region. Time now for another break. Stay tuned. Search and rescue operations are continuing in New Zealand after a deadly landslide struck a campsite near Mount Maunganui in Tauranga. Emergency crews worked through the night using heavy machinery to search for people believed trapped under rubble. At least 6 people are confirmed missing. In a separate landslide nearby, a grandmother and a child were found dead inside their home. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon described the disaster as a national tragedy and said the government is ready to provide additional support as recovery efforts begin. Local officials say communities have rallied together to support affected families, while authorities remain hopeful that survivors may still be found despite the scale of destruction. South Korea has repatriated dozens of its citizens from Cambodia as part of a major crackdown on international online scam operations. 73 South Korean suspects arrived in Incheon International Airport aboard a chartered flight on Friday and were immediately transferred to police custody. Authorities alleged the group scammed fellow Koreans out of nearly 49 billion won, or about $33 million. The suspects were among more than 260 Koreans detained in Cambodia in recent months. Public anger over scam centers surged last year after a South Korean student reportedly died while being forced to work at a scam compound. Officials say investigations will continue and warn that overseas crimes targeting Koreans will be pursued relentlessly. Now, Syrian government forces have begun transferring Kurdish fighters from a prison in northern Syria following a weakened agreement involving security authorities. Buses and vehicles were seen leaving the Al-Aqtan prison overnight. The facility had been holding Kurdish fighters responsible for guarding Islamic State detainees. The transfer is part of broader coordination efforts as Damascus seeks to reassert control over parts of the north amid shifting alliances. Details of the agreement remain limited, but the move comes as concerns persist over the security of thousands of Islamic State prisoners held in detention facilities across the region. The development highlights the fragile and complex security situation in post-conflict Syria. Now, residents of Iraq's second-largest city, Mosul, experienced a rare moment of joy as snowfall blanketed parts of the northern Nineveh province. Snow is an uncommon sight in the region, drawing families outdoors to celebrate the unusual weather. Mosul was once the last major stronghold of the Islamic State group between 2014 and 2017, before being retaken by Iraqi forces with US-led coalition support. The battle left much of the city in ruins. Today's shopkeepers and residents continue rebuilding with limited resources while awaiting war reparations. For many, the snowfall offered a brief but powerful symbol of renewal after years of conflict and hardship. Time now for sports update. Shadabato Youth Club registered their first victory of the season by stunning domestic powerhouse Manang Morsandi Club 1-0 in the National League football match at Dasrat Stadium in Tripureshwar on Friday. The win comes after Shadabato drew with Sankata Club and suffered a defeat against Anati in their previous matches, giving the team a significant morale boost. Manang Morsandi, one of Nepal's most successful football clubs, has now lost 3 consecutive league matches, including a heavy 5-0 defeat to Tribhuvan Army FC and a 2-1 loss to Mashindra FC. The unexpected result highlights the increasing competitiveness of Nepalese club football this season. Fans are now eagerly watching to see if Shadabato can maintain their momentum against stronger opponents. Now, we are almost at the end of the primetime bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nepali Congress officially nominates party President Thapa as prime ministerial candidate. 49 candidates withdraw nominations for FPTP elections to HOR scheduled for March 5. Former Prime Minister Bhattrai among the withdrawing candidates. Nepal's National Assembly convenes today with Home Minister Aryal presenting 3 key ordinances. President Paudel observed Basanta Sravan ritual at Hanuman Dhoka, goddess of wisdom Saraswati, worshipped on Sri Panchami today. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi dissolves lower house, paving the way for a snap general election on 8th of February. And Shadabato Youth Club registered first victory of the season, defeating Manang Morsandi Club 1-0 in the National League football match today. That is all for the moment here on NTV World Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours NPT. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I am Iprula Gising Lama. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World, taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Inside the quiet courtyard of Baber Mahal, colors seem to breathe on their own. This is Siddharth Art Gallery, home to some of Nepal's most defining contemporary art movements. Today, the gallery opens its doors to Mithila Cosmos, a universe imagined through the brush of artist S.C. Suman, a name inseparable from the evolution of gallery space.
म आफ्नो बच्चैदेखि हजुरआमालाई हेर्दै थिएँ यो भित्तामा उहाँ कोर्नुहुन्थ्यो
अब भित्तामा कोर्दै जाँदाखेरि उहाँलाई हेर्दै आएर त्यसपछि म बालकालदेखि नै स्कुल जाँदा अनि फुलहरू हेर्दा मलाई हजुरआमाले पेन्टिङ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसमा रङ बनाउनुहुन्छ भनेर म उहाँको लागि बाटोमा खसेका फुलहरू ल्याएर उहाँलाई दिन्थेँ र उहाँलाई भन्थेँ कि ल यसबाट पनि रङ बनाउनुहोस् यसबाट पनि पेन्टिङ गर्नुहोस् अनि यो कुरा मलाई एकदम सहजै प्र्याक्टिसमा आएको जस्तो लाग्यो र उहाँको पछि उहाँ भित्ताहरू रङाउँदाखेरि पेन्टिङहरू गर्दाखेरि म उहाँलाई छोडेर कतै जाँदैनथेँ र मलाई पनि काम गर्न दिनुहोस् भनेर उहाँ कहिले काहीँ दिक पनि मान्नुहुन्थ्यो कति मलाई माने यो डिस्टर्ब गरेको तिमी जाऊ खेल भनेर त्यही पनि म उहाँसँग बस्थेँ अब उहाँले त्यही पनि उहाँको म बसिरहन्थेँ उहाँले चाहिँ साइडमा कुनै कुनामा एउटा सानो चित्र बनाइदिनुहुन्थ्यो र यसमा तिमी रङ भर भन्नुहुन्थ्यो अनि म छिटो रङ भर्थेँ र उहाँले आश्चर्य भन्नुहुन्थ्यो हेर कति मभन्दा पनि राम्रो रङ भर्दो रहेछ भनेर अनि यसरी मलाई चाहिँ मिथिला पेन्टिङले नजिक ल्यायो र म त्यो फेरि त्यो गर्न थालेँ.
What we see today is not just an exhibition, it is a lived memory of culture, philosophy and the changing world around us.
यसरी प्रत्येक घटनासँग जोडिँदै आएर एक्जिबिसन आएको हो र 2021 मा मिथिला कस्मस द साइकल अफ टाइम आयो त्यसपछि त्यो 22 मा सक्यो 22 को जनवरीमा सक्यो र त्यसपछि अहिले आएर यो 25 मा यो एक्जिबिसन आयो त्यो बीचको जुन अब फेरि यसलाई कसरी जोड्ने त अब जस्तो कि नेपाल एकाडेमी अफ फाइन आर्ट्समा म काउन्सिल मेम्बर हुँदाखेरि मैले आफ्नो देशको लोक कलाहरूलाई हेर्न पाएँ म लोक कला विभाग प्रमुख थिएँ हैन अनि त्यो हेर्दै जाँदाखेरि म पूर्वदेखि पश्चिमसम्म उत्तरदेखि दक्षिणसम्मका त्यो जिल्लाहरू भ्रमण गरेँ आफ्ना हाम्रा लोक कलाहरूलाई हेरेँ हाम्रो भनिन्छ हाम्रो देशमा 123 126 वटा भाषा बोलिन्छ त्यसका आफ्ना संस्कृति छन् आफ्ना चाहिँ रीतिथिति छन् त्यसभित्रका कलाहरू मैले हेर्न पाएँ र त्यो सबैलाई जोड्दै जाँदाखेरि एउटा आर्टिस्टले कसरी त्यो प्रभावित पार्दो रहेछ र त्यो स्टुडियोमा काम गर्दाखेरि त्यो एलिमेन्टहरू हेर्नु र त्यो एलिमेन्टलाई आफ्नो पेन्टिङमा चाहिँ समावेश गर्नु यो सहज रूपमा त्यो हुँदै जान्छ र यो सो ल्याउँदाखेरि चाहिँ तलको तल्लामा हामी चाहिँ हेर्छौँ क्यानभास वर्कहरू छ त्यसमा देवी कथा छन् गीताका सार छन् जीवनका त्यो कथाहरू छन् र त्यसमाथिमा आउँदाखेरि उपत्यकाका कथा छन् त्यसपछि जनकपुरको रामायण र अयोध्याको कथाहरू छ रामायणसँग जोडिएको कथा छ त्यसपछि बौद्ध कथाहरू आएका छन् त्यो सिरिजहरूलाई कसरी एक ठाउँमा हामी कसरी विभिन्न जाति समुदायहरू एउटा साझा फुलबाडी हो त्यसभित्रका संस्कृतिका कुराहरू त्यसभित्रका कुराहरू मैले ल्याउँदाखेरि मलाई त्यो आफैसँग आफूलाई परिचय गराउनु जस्तो र त्यो मैले कलाको माध्यमबाट बुझेर म यो कुरालाई म आफ्ना नयाँ पुस्ताहरूसम्म पनि यो चाहिँ यसरी हो हाम्रो देश यो मिथिला पेन्टिङ भनेको एउटा समुदाय क्षेत्र समुदायको विशेषको पेन्टिङ होइन यो नेपाली आर्ट हो यदि मिथिला पेन्टिङको नेपाली कलाको कुरा गरे भने मिथिला पेन्टिङलाई छोडेर त्यो नेपाली आर्ट पुरा हुँदैन भनेर मेरो बुझाइमा मैले यसरी यो एक्जिबिसनले ल्याएको.
Mithila art carries centuries of tradition from Janakpur, from mythological narratives and wedding symbols to intricate floral motifs that speak of life, devotion, and identity. The power of Mithila painting lies in its detail. Every line, every border, every color has a purpose.
के हुन्छ कलाकारले जब घुम्छ ऊ चाहिँ ट्राभल गर्छ चाहे त्यो देश विदेशको यात्रा होस् चाहे आफ्नो विषयवस्तु खोजी हिँड्छ उसले अनुकरण गर्ने क्षमता मलाई लाग्छ उसँग धेरै हुन्छ उसको दिमागमा त्यो कुराहरू आइरहेको हुन्छ क्या त्यो आइरहेको र त्यो कतै न कतै कुनामा बसिरहेको हुन्छ. अब जब स्टुडियोमा बिस्तारै काम गर्दै जाँदाखेरि एउटा आर्टवर्कसँग करिब करिब एक सप्ताह उसले बिताउँछ चाहे 15 दिनसम्म बिताउँछ त्यो विषयवस्तु र त्यसका त्यो फ्रेम अब्जेक्टहरूमा बिताउँछ त्यसमा चाहिँ त्यसको दिमाग त खाली हुँदैन ऊ सोचिरहन्छ र सोचेर त्यो बिताएका क्षणहरूमा उसले चाहिँ आफ्नो कलाहरूमा त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रस्कृत गर्दै जान्छ र त्यो अनुभव बटुलेका चिजहरूलाई उसले चाहिँ त्यतिखेर सम्झँदै उसले चाहिँ केही सम्झना आउँछ र केही नयाँ चिज ल्याउँछ. पहिलो एक्जिबिसनहरू गर्दाखेरि त्यो छडिएको हुन्थ्यो जस्तो विभिन्न पेन्टिङहरूलाई ल्याएर एकै ठाउँमा गएर त्यसमा एक्जिबिसन गरिएको जस्तो हुन्थ्यो. त्यसपछि के भयो भने मेरो पहिलो मिथिला सोलो एक्जिबिसनको टाइटल पनि म्याथली आर्ट थियो. त्यसपछि म्याथली आर्ट लिभिङ ट्रेडिसन भनेर आयो. त्यसरी जबसम्म त्यो म्याच्योर हुँदै जान्छ कलाकारले 1-2 स्टेपहरू हुन्छन् त्यो एक्जिबिसनहरूको त्यसले अनुभव पनि बटुल्छ र बटुल्दै जाँदा भ्युअर्सहरूसँग भेट्छ जर्नलिस्टहरू भेट्छ क्रिटिक्सहरूसँग भेट्दै जाँदाखेरि त्यसको निखार आउँदै जान्छ साधनाको निखार आउँदै जान्छ र त्यो चाहिँ विषयवस्तुसँग जोडिँदै जान्छ र आज आएर यो फ्रेममा चाहिँ हामी हेर्न पाउँछौँ.
Art becomes complete only when someone responds to it. In this gallery, every viewer sees something different. A memory, a symbol, a question, a reminder. What do the visitors find in this universe of Mithila?
Well, as an academician, I feel that Mithila painting is like a healing process to people. And this exhibition has expressed itself in a very beautiful way, expressing each and every motive which is present over here related to not only mythology, but also related to emotions of the people. And it is like a story work over here. The entire journey of Mithila has been depicted over here, which speaks volumes not only about the artist, but also about each and every object which has been portrayed over here.
Walking through these halls feels like traveling between timelines. The ancient and the modern coexist. Tradition is not frozen in the past. It evolves through those who carry it forward.
We feel like connected to Sumanji's works because he takes approach that's quite respectful, quite engaging and contemplative, and someone who speaks with contemplation, someone who prefers to remain in a discipline and work from the frame of that discipline. He had chosen the Mithila paintings framework, and he remains in that framework, and he stretches, expands the framework, and develops narrative power, descriptive power, that communicative power with that frame. And that's something amazing.
It may appear abstract at first glance, but spend a moment longer and stories begin to unfold of gods and goddesses, rituals and seasons, and the subtle emotions of everyday life. And within this rich visual grammar, Suman adds his own world, shaped by places he has lived, moments he has witnessed, and the history that surrounds him.
He was among the first generation artists of Mithila art. When he started his career from the kind of humble background he was in, with that financial background, very few people could actually make art and Mithila art in particular their primary career. So that is what separates him from other artists in that regard. However, I will also admit that a lot of other artists have also put in their contribution in the upliftment of Mithila art, and Mithila art has grown due to the collective effort of a lot of people.
From Vivaha Panchami in Janakpur to the lotus of Bodhanath, from the cosmic churn of Samudra Manthan to the silence of COVID lockdowns, Suman brings time onto canvas. His lines become memory, his colors become testimony.
Yeah, there are many favorites, you can see that. If you see that, there are each painting says some story. Like this is if you see this, here the wedding, Sita, Mata Sita wedding with the Ram. There's the procession going on, and every painting you will see that there are the nature. The S.C. Suman painting is the nature he captures very nicely. The color combination you will find very rare artists. That type of eye-catching is that one. Many things are within the one paintings.
Mithila Cosmos reminds us that art is not only what we see, it is what we feel, return to, and carry within ourselves.
I have grown in a Mithila household. I've been very closely connected to the Mithila culture. I have been seeing Mr. Suman's exhibitions since a long time, and this is one of the third or fourth exhibition of his that I've been attending. So yeah, that I obviously know about what kind of paintings he does and what time does he conducts these exhibitions. So this is exactly how I found that he was gonna do an exhibition this year as well.
Has a similar sort of providing blessing sort of artwork in the form of like a lakudwa, which like exists in a door frame. So what he's done in that specific piece is behind a lakudwa is a cobra painting, so like a wedding specific painting. So he's combined these two cultures as part of his, and it's part of his own narrative because he moved from Janakpur to Nepal, so that's what he was trying to convey, the mixing of these two cultures. So yeah, I think the mixing and, you know, like venturing out of your own home place, which is very common these days, and traveling and seeing the world, I think that's, I think the contemporary connection.
Behind every exhibition is a vision that guides how artworks converse with space and audience. Curator Sangeeta Thapa has been a key voice in shaping Nepal's modern and contemporary art landscape.
His first exhibition, Mithila Cosmos, began in 2007, and what we have been seeing is that he is really celebrating the art forms of the Mithila world, along with the myths and legends of the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and this is something that we see all throughout the different editions of the Mithila Cosmos journey that he has with the Siddhartha Art Gallery. This is his 7th show, and we decided to call it Journey of a Pilgrim because the piety in the exhibition is very apparent, and his knowledge of the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, the myths and legends that we have grown up listening to and learning about, you know, become central to his work. But Sumanji is also talking not only about Mithila art, he's from the Tarai, so he brings in elements from Tharu, Dusad, Salish, different forms of art form from indigenous communities in the Tarai, and he amalgamates it and he really makes it his own. Perhaps the most significant work in this show is called Samudra Manthan, and if you know, this is a story which has been visually narrated by so many artists, from Raja Ravi Varma to early 19th century engravings, but he has, you know, even amalgamated a Hakusai wave into this art form. So that is a really famous painting, The Wave, and you can see that influence has permeated his wave, his painting. Sumanjiko themes are not only religious. So whether it is the eco-anxiety that we all feel at present, the destruction of Nisgar forest or the Chure hills, he amalgamates all of that. During COVID, he had a specific work which he, you know, asked the question, why were bats blamed for spreading COVID in the world? I mean, was the virus man-made? So his belief in nature, the natural cosmology of the world, is something that you will see over and over again in his paintings.
As visitors step out, the colors remain. In imagination, in reflection, and perhaps in rediscovering where heritage meets the present.
Pashupatinath is located in the eastern part of Kantipur city, approximately 5 kilometers away from Bagmati River. During the Lichavi period, the area surrounding Pashupatinath was known for animal rearing. This region includes Duasthali, Kuveshwari, Gaurighat, Chabahil, Ganeshtan, and Kotuvali, all of which are part of the Pashupatinath area. In 1979 AD, UNESCO designated Pashupatinath as a World Heritage Site. The blessings of Pashupatinath have been revered since ancient times, indicating the site's significance long before the Lichavi dynasty. The presence of Jyotirlinga, a sacred representation of Lord Shiva, is mentioned in one of the ancient texts, highlighting its historical and religious importance. In the Gopal Raj dynasty, King Supuspadev described Pashupatinath as Varna Vyavastha. Following Supuspadev, every subsequent king incorporated the name of Pashupatinath within their own names. King Vaskar Dev offered 3 kosh to Pashupatinath, Brishdev presented a Trishul, Dharmadev contributed a Brishjos, and Narendra Dev offered various kosh made from different materials. Finally, Jayadev offered a lotus to Pashupatinath. In 1473 BS, Jyoti Malla renovated Pashupatinath. The priest Nityananda initiated the removal of the 3-story structure of Pashupatinath and reduced it to a single story. Queen Ganga, the consort of Shiva Singh, had the Bhasa Bamsawali written, which is still present today. During the Malla dynasty, the offerings made by the kings to Pashupatinath can still be seen today. Among these offerings, Lord Shiva at Pashupatinath received a copper roof, and chhadi and kamal. Finally, King Jai Singh presented a gold-made mekhla, and a grand jatra was conducted. The temple's extraordinary design is attributed to the cumulative contributions of successive kings, each leaving their mark by adding distinctive elements to its architecture. This rich history of royal patronage is a primary factor contributing to the exceptional and intricate design of this revered temple.
Less than 4 years remain until 2030. That's the deadline for Sustainable Development Goals set by countries worldwide.
Governments, scientists and communities have committed to ambitious targets, from limiting global temperature rise under the Paris Agreement to protecting at least 30% of Earth's land and oceans under global biodiversity framework. But despite these commitments, data suggests that we are far from where we need to be. Protected areas cover only a fraction of the target. Funding gaps are measured in hundreds of billions each year, and nature-based solutions remain dramatically underfunded. On today's episode of Insight, we are speaking on this matter with Dr. Maheshwar Dhakal, Joint Secretary in Nepal government. He holds a PhD in environmental science and currently leads the climate change division. Dr. Dhakal, welcome to NTV World Insight.
Thank you very much.
The data that I could access, the latest one that I could access, showed that only about 17.6% of terrestrial areas and 8.5% of oceans are protected. That is far below the 30% target by 2030. Do you think this gap is large? And if so, what does it mean for biodiversity and climate resilience worldwide?
You are very much clear that the 30% target by 2030 is a very ambitious target. Let's compare in two levels, at a global level and our country context. In the beginning, in 2010, when COP10 was decided, 2020 targets in Aichi in Japan, at that time the target what we set, we means all the parties of CBT conventions, but unfortunately none of the parties they achieved the targets. But on the other hand, if you compare to Nepal, already Nepal has 23% of the port area coverage, right? But when this result was discussed in 2015, it's called Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Framework, which is the 15th COP in Canada, and international communities they agreed again to reach the level of 30-30 target, but with some flexible mechanisms. It's called OECD, other environmental conservation measure. It's the very flexible modality, unlike the port area and wildlife reserve or hunting reserves. It's together with the local communities and with assurance of the rights of the local communities. Different mechanism we proposed, and government of Nepal also agreed to that mechanism. And we already initiated one strategy regarding to the OECD. If you compare more specifically, we do have a couple of areas where we have to conserve it. For example, I would like to give the very visible example is Godavari forest area, which is very intact in terms of biodiversity conservation, but yet to be decided none of the port area systems. And government of Nepal, particularly our Ministry of Forest and Environment, we declare is the conservation forest is the one of the mechanism under the forest law. There are a couple of areas across the country in Nepal. If you go eastern region, the Tinjure Milke Jaljalli, the Laligruas area is one of the best area to declare another port area. And at the same time, if you go to the Panchase, is interconnected with Sengja, Kanski and Parvat. And similarly, if you go to the more lowland, the Dhankhola area, Kopilpastu, Dang and Argakhachi. And at the same time, Jogbuda and some of the Limi Valley in the high mountains region in Humla. These are the some areas we can declare it's a special category of the port area management. In your questions, if you compare to Nepal, Nepal is pretty comfortable positions to reach that target. But if you compare to the global scales, then definitely there are some still challenges, because the very short answer and very quick point is most of the developed countries and some developing countries, they are not very much encouraging or motivating to declare new port area system, but at the same time for public consumptions they used to speak in the public forum, but at country levels they are not very much interested. That is the situation. Just 4 years is remaining to reach to this target, right? But if we adopt, we means all the parties, convention parties adopted the OECM mechanism, then I am hopeful that the global community can reach the target.
When we talk of climate change and biodiversity, we often treat them as separate issues. Is this one crisis or two?
You mean the climate change and biodiversity?
Yes. Yeah. Even with UN, there are separate conferences.
I think, it's very nice question. If you go by 1992, when Rio Convention was held in Brazil, at that time 3 conventions were declared at the same time, at the same place. They are the climate change, biodiversity and desertifications. But if you go through the process of implementations, then climate change is implementing more aggressively. Sometimes the part of climate justice is coming very prominently, and forefront agenda is considered by many communities. On the other hand, biodiversity parties also looks very nice, because most of the countries, they are doing their best job. But desertification, maybe very few countries are highly impacted from the desertification. That's why this convention is discussed very little in the international arena. But in my opinion, these 3 conventions are interconnected and interrelated each other to save the environment and protect the planet. They are interconnected.
Now, countries have been part of frameworks like the Paris Agreement and also Global Biodiversity Framework. Many countries, including Nepal, have also declared nationally determined contributions, NDCs. But are we on track to achieve all the targets in the document, or are these just symbolic steps?
I think, as I am leading the climate change division, then definitely we are very much committed, and we are working to achieve those targets which are we set in the NDC. But at the same time, it is really hard if we do not secure the sufficient funding resources. That's why if you go through our NDC, we are giving the 2 types of targets. One is the conditional one, and another is unconditional one. Unconditional one, definitely we will achieve, because our resources, our capacity and our policy, all supporting factors, enabling environments we will create. But on the other hand, the conditional one is we are asking to the international community that Nepal is a landlocked, developing, mountainous country, and we are emitted very little carbon emissions, but we are affected most. That's why we need support from the international community to build our adaptation capacity. That's why most of the target, particularly energy target, the hydropower and other clean energy targets, we are expecting some support from the international community to achieve those targets. Because the reason behind this, Nepal, we do not have petroleum products and fossil fuels. Our production we do not have, right? But on the other hand, we are importing those resources. We would like to promote the clean energy and replace the fossil fuels and contribute the global carbon emission reduction process. But on the other hand, clean energy will create the multiple jobs and opportunities to our communities. Even our target is to sell those energy to our neighbor countries and to support them as well.
The US government back in 2015 as well, and after the latest takeover by US President Donald Trump, withdrew from the Paris Agreement. Do you think steps like these influence the global effort towards building resilience towards climate change and our climate activities?
I think it's a very diplomatic one, but it is the internal matter of United States. If you ask to me, it's officially, but at the same time, United States is the major partner and pillar to the international process. And I do hope that sooner or later the United States will be with the process. But many people and many communities, many countries, they are doubt how the future discourse, debate and the pathway of the climate change and biodiversity will go. It's really unclear, and questionable, and we have to wait sometimes.
You also mentioned just now about the funding gap that we have in implementing our NDC targets, achieving the NDC targets, in fact. And the global recent analysis suggests that we're spending trillions in global economy that is against nature, while our climate actions and climate activities are only worth around billions of dollars. So there's a huge gap in there. What do you think needs to change in how global finance is aligned to truly support conservation and climate goals?
Yeah, definitely. While we are talking about the climate finance or biodiversity finance, basically we discuss our negotiations based on the two parameters. The one is need base, how much amount of money is expected in the NDC and adaptation plan, including the biodiversity NVSAP, National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, those national policy documents. On the other hand, the science recommendation. Particularly in climate change, IPCC recommends how much money it needs and to implement those activities. On the other hand, IPBES is the recommendation for the biodiversity conservations. You are rightly pointed out that we need a huge amount of money to implement and to achieve those NDC targets and biodiversity targets, but the global communities are not in the position to support by providing funding resources. This is the big challenges. That's why our negotiation process, and we are discussing with the developed countries that if you see the last 200 years, most of the developed countries, they enjoy with the natural resources and they develop their infrastructure, and with the recent all the development facilities or commodities, whatever used by the developed countries, and they benefited a lot. But unfortunately, most of the developing countries are impacted from the climate change or biodiversity loss or even air pollution. That's why this is a part of justice. Then how do we developing countries, and particularly like-minded countries including Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, even India and China, how we unite each other and claim the climate finance, and also convince to the developed countries to pledge as much as money that we need. That's why we need a very collective and very collaborative approach. If you remember, last year we organized Sagarmatha Samvad, and it's a coincidence that I was the member secretary for the Sagarmatha Samvad as well, right? And our understanding and our conclusion is, unless and until if we do not promote a regional approach, particularly for South Asia, then we cannot achieve the sufficient resource funding. That's why global and the regional partnership approach we have to develop to secure sufficient funding resources. But if you are talking if global scale, then definitely all the developing countries, including least developed countries like Nepal and SIDS, small island developing countries, we have to discuss together, and we have to develop our science strong enough as we need, because without very sufficient information, sufficient science, then simply asking money for climate justice, no one is going to pledge. That's why we have to develop our capacity in terms of science, in terms of evidence, and then we have to claim. Otherwise, it's really impossible to get those huge resources that we need.
Mountain agenda has been on the table during COPs from countries like Nepal and small island nations as well. How is the progress been so far? Have we made strides when it comes to locking these resources that we're talking about?
Yes, definitely. This year we organized Sagarmatha Samvad. This year means last year. And the conclusion of the Sagarmatha Samvad was very much clear, and we are asking to the international community, if you save the mountains, then you can save the downstream communities. Or if you do not save or do not protect the mountains, then definitely the downstream communities will face the climate induced disasters, including landslides, floods and inundations and so on. Mountain agenda is really important for us, as we are the leading country, not only at the Mountain Everest, the whole country is a mountainous country. And this time in COP30, we discuss, we negotiate, and we coordinated all the like-minded countries and similar organizations, even experts, and even head of the institutions. And finally, the COP30 is decided to hold a global dialogue on mountain and climate change in coming June in Bonn, Germany, and Nepal is also preparing on it. We do have a very clear two agenda on this mountain part. One is we are asking the international community to recognize mountain is the separate agenda to the UNFCCC negotiation process, so that we can discuss a couple of issues under the mountain agenda: local communities, indigenous people, our culture, and then nature-based tourism, medicinal plants, forest, biodiversity, everything. So we can discuss over the mountain agenda. And then second, what we are asking to the international community is the lives and livelihoods of the mountainous communities is really very difficult, and the hardship of the livelihood is really different and unique in the mountainous countries like Nepal, and therefore we need to discuss every year as an annual dialogue. Sometimes we do not like to unnecessarily exaggerate about the mountains, but what is reality in the ground, you have to understand. That part we are going to discuss and negotiate to the international communities, and hopefully in coming June we will discuss, but at the same time we have to convince to all international communities together, because it's the global phenomena. Sometimes the personally or individual country can put their agenda, but how and whether you can convince to the international communities or not, that is really important.
When you mention of the impacts of climate change, when you talk about livelihoods and culture, there is a clear dissection that we tend to evaluate more about the tangible impacts of climate change and not the intangible, maybe. Do you think the two are weighed equally?
Most of the climate change negotiator, and even including myself in the past, we discuss about half of the negotiations. So what I used to say, carbon emission, glacier melting, glove, and all the cascading effects in the downstreams. This is the one part. But on the other hand, most of the mountainous countries, and particularly Nepalese mountainous countries, they protect the forest and biodiversity, and they preserve the glacier in the top of the mountain, right? As a result, you are getting the fresh water, and huge amount of carbon is sink in the mountains, and they have huge contributions to protect the planet and regulate the climate. That's why they have to be compensated through mechanism of environmental services, or you can say simply the innovative financial mechanism. That's why what we are asking to the international communities is, if we do not support or compensate to the mountainous communities, otherwise they are not going to protect those forests and biodiversity, and not only many, billions of the people in the downstream, they are going to face the water security problem.
Now, as we talk about climate injustice, countries like Nepal are least polluter but are the most impacted. From a global justice perspective, what do you think must change in the international system to ensure effective conservation and climate action?
Yes. Being Nepal is the less emitter and the most impacted country, is a part of climate justice. Then we have to ask to the international communities to support us or to build our capacity to cope those crises, or build the adaptation capacity. Even nowadays, what we are discussing about the loss and damage under the climate change framework, we need the additional finance, and we have to increase our access over the advanced technology, and we also need some capacity building activities, including those people who are living far from the city center and really impacted in the ground, including children, youth, even women, senior citizens. Even nowadays, if you go to the remote areas of Nepal, most of the senior citizens, they are the most affected. That's why we need a climate justice for them, and to make their ability or capacity to cope those climate crisis.
You've been part of many COPs on behalf of Nepal government. What is the mood in the room like? Do you think developed countries are committed to helping countries like ours?
Yeah, do you know, if you ask me very honestly, the present international geopolitics is rapidly and drastically changing, and then it's very difficult to predict what will be happen tomorrow. But I'm pretty confident that sooner or later the developed countries should be responsible, because they are the reason behind this crisis.
Ecosystems, species migrations and climate impacts transcend national borders, of course.
Yeah.
In your observation, what global or regional cooperation mechanisms have been most promising, and where do you see gaps that need urgent attention?
I think there are two parts in your questions. If you are asking me about the biodiversity and the migration of the wild species, including wildlife, this is the one part. But on the other hand, because of the climate change and biodiversity loss, the human migrations is also taking place so rapidly. Even nowadays, people are migrating from rural area to city areas, and city areas to capital areas, and capital areas to international, right? That's why what we are asking to the policymaker or politician is develop the city planning and the climate change adaptation capacity of the local communities to provide maximum climate change adaptation activities to them. But migration is nowadays so rapidly taking place. That's why it's very difficult to manage it, because other externalities also coming together. That's why we have to think more comprehensive and more integrated approach, so that we can retain our youth to the rural area or city areas. But climate resilient city planning is the most to retain those communities. But at the same time, we have to seek for maximum and multiple employment and job opportunities to the youth. Otherwise, it's really hard to make the stable community and stable society.
Now, Nepal has seen a substantial and very encouraging forest cover rise, which is around 46% of its land. And we also maintain roughly 23% of the territory as protected areas. Do you see this conservation model particularly as an example that the world can learn from?
Yes, definitely we are in the right direction, but we have to departure now. Because in the beginning, if you see 1970s, our conservation modality was started through the wilderness theory. Means keep intact the ecosystems and do not damage or do not hamper anymore. But later on, what we realize is state-led one-side conservations or intact of the ecosystem is not enough unless local communities are integrated with the system. That we realize. That's why we introduce participatory approach, both in community forestry and then buffer zone based participatory approach. But from the last 30 to 40 years experience, we protected our forests so well, including with local communities and with a very good participation. Even the women and youth and every segment of the society we incorporated with the system. But unfortunately, we do not make a very clear plan what we will do next once the forest is protected or preserved, right? And in my expert view, this is the right time to welcome, to integrate the private sectors and harvest forest as a renewable natural resources and create more enabling environment to the private sector and process the maximum and multiple goods and services based on the forest and biodiversity enterprises and sell to the market, even not only the Nepalese one, even beyond international markets, and earn maximum foreign exchange and create job and opportunities. These are the good opportunities. That's why in summary, we are in the right directions, but this is the time to capitalize, to monetize our resources.
The prospect that you just mentioned about creating job opportunities and economic growth by utilizing our forest resources. Do you think our existing policies facilitate that?
Yes, of course, our policies are supporting, but sometimes I am also observing that not enough as private sector is expecting. That's why simplify the process and very clear mechanism as expected by the private sector. I think it's a time to revisit our policy together with private sector and experts from the conservation sides. Ultimately, to make our country prosperous is our responsibility. That's why conservation or protection of the forest and development are not a blaming games, and it's a trade-off, and we have to sit together and find the win-win approach that both conservation and development can together parallelly and respect each other. This is the way what I'm thinking here.
Dr. Dhaka, lastly, what for you would be a successful global conservation and climate architecture look like by 2030, as we also are reaching a deadline for SDGs?
Yes, not only SDGs, even there are a couple of other targets also going to finish by 2030. Unfortunately, the international politics looks a little bit unstable at this moment. That's why it is really hard to say more quantitatively. But at the same time, the global communities with very, very advanced science, the human activities are becoming more efficient and more comfortable, because nowadays each and every information you can take from anywhere of the planet, of the world. That's why this is the opportunity. But at the same time, sincere and disciplined society is really looking very challengeable. This morning I read one paper that this is the time to redefine the international geopolitics. That's why coming 4 years really challenging for me as a policymaker of the developing countries. Just I have an option to be open and do our best as much as possible to contribute the process. But it's really hard to achieve those targets by 2030.
Thank you so much for being on NTV World Insight.
Thank you very much.
Well, climate and conservation progress looks uneven at present. However, inspiring examples from around the world, including Nepal, we hope show that change is possible through collaboration. We hope today's conversation adds to the global discourse on turning ambition into tangible impact, ensuring that future generations inherit a planet that is resilient, thriving, and full of life. Thank you for staying with us here on NTV World Insight. Until next time.
Culture and identity of a nation or community is deeply embedded in its craft and lifestyle. In this, specialized craft producers are major actors. Besides specialized skills and uniqueness, time adds value to such crafts. In this film, we explore two such specialized crafts, one in Kathmandu and the other in Niigata. that have played significant role in elevating their respective national culture and identity in the world's sphere. The capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, is a spectacular blend of natural beauty and culture. Habitat to about 2.5 million people, the city holds a rich cultural history that dates back to the ancient times. The 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites it encompasses are evident to the fact. Swayambhunath, Bodhanath, Pashupatinath temple premises, Changunarayan temple area, as well as the 3 Darbar squares of Kathmandu, Patan and Bhaktapur enlisted in the UNESCO Cultural World Heritage Site are not only a glimpse of its civilization, but Nepalese treasured pride. The civilization of Kathmandu that lies 1400 meters above the sea level seemingly holds a close connection with copper products since time immemorial. Historical text has it that Kathmandu in ancient time was referred to as Nepal. Sanskrit lexicographers have a synonym of tamra or copper as Nepaliklam and Nepalam. Hence, the origin of the name Nepal is assumed to have been derived from the Sanskrit word copper. In Nepal, copper has been a basic raw material to a wide range of art and crafts, including in sculpture, architecture, detail and housewares making. Thus, it has over time been an integral part of Nepali civilization and lifestyle.
इस्वीको सुरुदेखि चाहिँ ताम्रको टुक्राहरूको व्यवहारबाट चाहिँ यसको चलनचल्ती भएको बुझिन्छ। त्यसपछि चाहिँ 6औं शताब्दीमा आएर चाहिँ यसबाट चाहिँ मुद्रा बनाउने चलन आयो। तिस्टुङको भटुवाल र पाल्चोक भन्ने 2 ठाउँमा अंशुवर्माले राखेको अभिलेखमा चाहिँ यो ताम्रभाण्ड तामाका भाँडाहरू चाहिँ सरकारको स्वीकृति बिना बाहिर लानु हुँदैन भन्ने उल्लेख आएको छ। ह्वेनसाङ चाहिँ भारतमा आएर भारतबाट चाहिँ नेपाल भएर चाहिँ चीन फर्केको बुझिन्छ। त्यो चाहिँ 643-44 ईस्वी सम्बततिर आएको बुझिन्छ। त्यो जुन कैलाशकूट भवन छ त्यो कैलाशकूट भवन बारे ह्वेनसाङले एकदमै राम्रो चाहिँ उल्लेख गरेको छ कि यो 7 तलाको थियो। यसको चाहिँ छाना चाहिँ तामाको थियो। यसको चाहिँ नेपालमा चाहिँ तामाको पैसा चाहिँ चल्तीमा छ। यहाँका मानिसहरूले भाँडाकुँडाहरू तामाको चलाउँछ। यी कुराहरू उल्लेख गरेको छ जुन चाहिँ चाइनाको टाङ वृत्तान्तमा अथवा इतिहासमा उल्लेख गरिएको छ।
The earliest known Ripause image is Garudasana Vishnu, dated 607 CE from Changunarayan temple in Bhaktapur. Some historical metal idols of the 6th and 7th century are remaining in private possession or in museum collections abroad. A significant consideration as evidence of copper metal craft are the idols dating back to the 11th century excavated in Makwanpur, which is a district adjoining Kathmandu. At the moment, these rare valuables are safely harbored at the Patan Darbar Square Museum. Among the 3 cities of Kathmandu Valley, Patan is comparatively popular for copper craft. Hundreds of families, especially the Newars, who are natives of this cultural city, have been preserving their ancestral legacy of manufacturing copperwares and artifacts for generations now. In Nepal, copper artifacts are made mainly through two techniques, either by lost waxing or repoussé, which is a technique of pounding metal sheets. The Malla period between 1200 to 1482 is considered a golden era in terms of metalcraft in Nepal. An array of work dazzling in its quantity and quality was produced then, much of which survives. The popularity of Nepali artisans had reached far and wide. It was in this period that Araniko, the famous artisan, was taken to Tibet. In 1265, Emperor Kublai Khan of China, impressed with Araniko's work, invited him to the capital and got him to renovate the artifacts in the monastery there, dating back to the Song period. In 1274, Emperor Khan appointed Araniko the director of the court artisans in China. To date, artists in hundreds are committed to continue the legacy of copper craft in Nepal. Among them, some are successfully effortful to simultaneously take ahead promotion and expansion of the craft. Among such names is Rajkumar Shakya, renowned for his crafts and entrepreneurship. Shakya was born on 1966 in Patan, in a family of metal craftsmen.
हाम्रो पुर्खौली अब बाजे बराजु देखि नै यही काममा लाग्नु भएको बुवाले काम गर्नु भएको जासलमा बसेर बुवासँगै बसेर खेल्दै सिक्दै काम गर्दै गर्दै परम्परागत तरिकाले नै सिकेको मैले सानो बेला सिक्दाखेरि त्यति बजार पनि थिएन यो कलाको अहिले आउँदाखेरि यो कलाको चाहिँ बजार पनि अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय जगतमा फैलिँदै गयो यसको चाहिँ उत्पादनमा पनि वृद्धि गर्नुपर्ने देखियो
Shakya's works have made a niche both in the national and international market. Passion, focus, devotion and search for new ideas is what has elevated Shakya's profile as compared to other artists. The incomparable expression of skill and creation of beauty are reflected in his works, which are beyond imagination for any ordinary artist. His widely acclaimed works of craft have been placed at various countries, with Japan, Vietnam, China, Thailand harboring his significant works. The latest is the 155 feet tall idol of Guru Padmasambhav in Bhutan. Based on repoussé, pounded sheets of copper were wrapped around iron skeleton, which was built using modern architecture. Supervised by Shakya, it took 4 years for 57 artisans to complete the idol.
2000 एक्सपो मा जर्मनमा मैले सबभन्दा ठुलो स्वयम्भूको स्तूपा बनाउने अवसर पाएँ फेरि पछि चाहिँ 2010 मा चाइनामा पनि फेरि एक्सपो वर्ल्ड एक्सपो मा त्यहाँ पनि मैले चाहिँ ठुलो स्तूपा बनाउने र अरु कलाकृतिहरू बनाउने मौका पाएँ त्यसमा चाहिँ अझ मैले चाहिँ हाम्रो हनुमान ढोकाको श्वेत भैरवको मुखाकृति 12 फिटको श्वेत भैरवको मुखाकृति पनि बनाउने अवसर पाएँ। त्यो पनि त्यहाँ अब चाइनामा चाहिँ एक्सपोमा प्रदर्शन गर्न पाएँ। त्यसपछि अनि चाहिँ मैले भुटानमा पद्मसम्भवको मूर्ति बनाउने पनि अवसर पाएँ।
Cultural and anthropological experts have highly evaluated Shakya's efficiency and capabilities.
त्यो 14औं शताब्दीमा जुन परम्परा थियो हाम्रो नेपालबाट अन्य देशमा गएर चाहिँ नि कलाकारहरूले आफ्नो कला प्रस्तुत गर्ने, नेपालको कलाकारितालाई त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि स्थापित गर्ने जुन काम गरेको थियो, त्यसै कामको चाहिँ नि निरन्तरताको रूपमा अहिले हामीले 20औं 21औं शताब्दीमा राजकुमार साकेजीलाई पाएको छौं। यस्तो ठुलो ठुलो ह्युज त्यो मूर्तिहरू बनाउने क्रममा चाहिँ नि त्यो मूर्तिको एउटा स्थानबाट अर्को स्थानमा सार्नु, त्यस्तै गरी त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रोपोर्सनेट मिलाउने आदि इत्यादि टेक्निकल पनि एकदमै कठिन काम हो। अब यसलाई चाहिँ उहाँले अत्यन्तै माइन्युटली चाहिँ गर्नु हुँदो रहेछ।
To reach Shakya's stature, however, takes a lot of dedication, devotion, practice and patience. Thus, not many youth look keen in pursuing with the profession. Keeping this in mind, Shakya also conducts classes for the younger generation in a bid to hand it over to them. Most interestingly, Shakya's son is also one of his pupils and has already joined him in his business.
हेरिटेजमा नेपालको एकदम टुरिस्टहरु पनि एकदम आकर्षित भयो हेरिटेजमा हैन, त्यही भएर अब बुवा पनि यसमै लाग्नु भयो। त्यही पनि मैले नि यसमै गरौँ कि जस्तो मलाई लाग्यो। बुवा यति आर्टिस्ट भएर पनि अब मेरोमा पनि धेरै एक्सपेक्टेसन गर्छन् होला अरूले पनि, त्यही भएर अब सिक्न काम गाह्रो पनि छ, सिक्न अब टाइम पनि लाग्नेछ, धेरै सिक्न पनि त बाँकी छ।
Such noble endeavors, complemented by the engagement of the younger generation, have indeed sparked a hope that the prosperous tradition will be kept alive. For those involved in copper kitchenwares and housewares, the biggest emerging threat is the modern wares, which are both attractive and cheaper. In a bid to preserve their profession, they have now attempted to add diversity to their products based on the demand of the changing times. Meanwhile, there are others like Kalyan Krishna Tamrakar, who, although remaining in the trade, have embraced newer productions based on market needs. Tamrakar has been manufacturing artistic utensils along with internationally acclaimed singing bowls, which are mostly used in meditational purposes.
करीब 28 वर्ष भयो सिंगिङ बोल्स, नयाँ सिंगिङ बोल्स बनाउने र त्यसमा अलिकति थेरापिक युजको लागि बनाएको सायद नेपालमा पहिलो नै मैले बनाए होला। एउटा फिलोसफी हो र जहाँसम्म युटेन्सिल्स र मैले बनाउने सन्दर्भमा पहिला यो धेरै पहिलाहरू बन्थ्यो र पछि बिस्तारै यो ब्रोन्जको युटेन्सिल्सहरू लोप हुँदै गयो। अनि यो बनाउनु पाएको हुन्छ कि भनेर अनि हामीले यसलाई फेरि बनाउन थालेको।
The market for singing bowls is mostly Europe and is used in intensive research and meditation. The sound created from the balls vary based on the utensil itself and is proven effective for improving blood circulation and hence is used in therapy as well. Tamrakar, whose forefathers had been copper craftsmen by profession, has justifiably promoted their knowledge and skills in the wider market through entrepreneurship. Majority of his buyers are from Germany and Japan.
やはり他で買いが利かないのと、さらにその日本の求める品質にネパールの人たちが合わせてものを作ってくれるからと思います。
私のユーザーは心を癒すそういったツールを大変求めているユーザーが多いです。例えばアロマセラピーの方でヨガの方、そういった方たちの要望に応えるためにネパールから輸入しようと思いました。そうすると残ってる手作りは大変高い、ほとんどアーティストのレベルしか残りなくなります。一般の方が使う 商品はもう今やネパールでないとできないのが現状だと思っています。ですから私たちのユーザーはそれを望んでますから、今私もネパールから大変たくさんの量を輸入しています。
In the Yahikoyama terrain drained by Shinano River lies Niigata city. Rice farming is predominant owing to the rich soil deposit which makes it ideal for agriculture. Besides, it is also renowned for the high-quality copper mines. During the Meiji period, copper mining flourished in the foothills. Adorned in tulip blooms, the designated city of food and flowers does not rest even amidst thick blankets of snow. Tsubame in Niigata is a city of metal craft and craftsmen that have thrived through prosperity and tumultuous times. At the beginning of the 1600s, lots of artisans came to exist in the Tsubame-Sanjo area, driven by the local administration's policy of encouraging side business. Thus originated the metal processing industry from the making of Japanese-style nails known as wakugi. The first artisans also produced household items including agricultural tools, kitchenwares and tobacco pipes. Once Japan started importing Western-style nails, the number of artisans gradually started decreasing. During the Second World War until 1945, the factories in the local area had to be mobilized to produce military goods. The 1950s was a time of mass production and mass consumption in Japan. Thus, metal processing companies grew multifold in number and size. Following the Plaza Accord that largely intervened currency markets, the factories gradually lost their business to their overseas competitors. They did not have as many orders as they once had. As a result, the local business temporarily but sharply declined.
今、燕市で追記銅器というふうに言われている、器といいますか、ものがありますけれども、それは一般的に金工でいう金属を加工する技術の中の単金と言われるものの一つでして、それを全国的に同じような技法はたくさんあるんですけれども、燕市ではそれを追記銅器と呼んでいる。燕市の追記銅器というのは伝統工芸技術としても県の指定にもなっておりますし、伝統工芸品としても指定されていますが、燕市の中ではだいたい今から250年くらい前の江戸時代の後期にその技術が仙台の方から来た職人によって伝わったと言われています。
Kakuhei Tamagawa also learned the technique from the craftsman and hence founded Gyokusendo in 1816. Since then, about 300 artisans have kept alive the traditional skills. The company is currently a leader in Niigata to preserve and expand the treasured tradition of tsukidoki. It is said during the Second World War, when weapons and arms mass production had peaked, the tsukidoki industry nearly disappeared owing to shortages of copper. It was Gyokusendo's then leadership that brought back the craftsmen dispersed across the country that helped in the revival of the industry. Gyokusendo celebrates its 200th anniversary in 2016. Today, its outlets are spread in top-notch departmental stores in high-end streets of Japan and overseas.
Motoyuki Tamagawa is the 7th master of Gyokusendo. Since taking over the company at an early age, he has worked hard to promote his products and company. Tamagawa, who strongly believes in adapting to business management style with time rather than changing age-old skill patterns, introduced the trend of putting his artisans in direct contact with the customers at Gyokusendo's outlets and during exhibitions. This, he believes, not only helps customer understand the skill and hard work required to create an artifact, but also helps the artisans learn the needs and tastes of the changing times.
顔の見える商売をしようと思ったんですよね。でそこで私が考えたのが商社を下ろさずに、直接百貨店に行ってでそこで実演販売をして職人がお客様と会話するようなこのビジネスモデルを作っているんですね。玉泉の方向としては、大量というよりは本当銅器を愛用してくださる方に対してちゃんと説明してちゃんと愛用していただける方を対象としたやっぱり商売をしていきたいと思ってますんで、だからそういうこと職人も、だから職人をどんどん増やすというわけではなくビジネスもどんどん大きくするわけではなくてちゃんと玉泉堂というブランドをね本当高めていくでお客様のその愛用する顧客満足度もやっぱり高めていくというところがすごく大事だと思ってますね。
At the Gyokusendo factory, about 15 artisans of various ages work hard by the day to improve their skills. Working with Gyokusendo is a dream for many artisans. Gyokusendo recruits one from among hundreds applying every year. For a craftsman, it can take about 20 to 30 years to acquire proficiency to handle a set of techniques all by himself. Each stroke in tsukidoki is made in such a way such that the marks do not overlap. The proficiency of an artisan is observed in a vessel made out of one copper sheet and without any seams. For the younger artisans, it is a matter of a lot of perseverance and patience. Today, all independent tsukidoki artisans in Tsubame were once trained at Gyokusendo. Among them, a prominent name is of an artist par excellence, Master Norio Tamagawa.
今のその木目金イコール木目金っていうのがもうのりおさんのことなんですけれども、その土台となっているのはやっぱり玉泉堂で修行していた時代の追記銅器という技術が骨幹にあって根元のところにあって、でそこから、亡くなられた師匠のところに、弟子入りをしたりですとかいろんなご苦労修行の中でご苦労されながら、今、世界にも名前を馳せるようになった素晴らしい作品を作られるようになったと思います。
Master Norio Tamagawa is the pride of Niigata and is acclaimed as the living national treasure Japan. His insurmountable contribution in reviving moku megane through his outstanding and unique creation is beyond comparison. The Tsubame Industrial History Museum, which is a hub to compile, preserve and exhibit industrial heritages, has set up a separate section to exhibit his works. This meticulously carved artifact harbored at the museum is the master's signature art piece. The masterpiece is a delicately hammered, refined handiwork that, owing to its traditional aura and aesthetic value, has awed art lovers and consumers across the world.
いわゆる就職って言いますか、会社へ入りますね。会社従業員として入って、何年か経った時に少し外の世界も見たいと思って東京へ2年ばかり修行に行ったんです。日本の芸大っていうね、その人たちとの交流もあったんで、その作品、私の場合はずっとほら商品を作ってたわけでしょ。商品じゃない作品作りのペースっていうのをね、 ああ違うもんだなっていうのをつくづく感じましたね。
The master reminisces it took him 11 years before he could call his product a piece of art. As a young artist, he took inspiration from his seniors to aim high and excel bigger dreams.
"作品作りには影響ないね。作品の場合はあくまでも個人のなんだ欲求のままに作るんですからね。世間が何を求めてるかっていうのはあんまり関係ない。っていうのは力がいる仕事なんでね。もう70過ぎてね現役っていうのは今まであんまりいなかったんです。だから私は仕方ないからやってるけども、だから夢はないけども、もう作品をいくつ作れるか。
The traditional skill nurtured by newer skills, tools and technology has elevated the 200-year-old technique to a world-class art. Contemporary Sukidoki products include a wide range of aesthetically distinctive housewares and artifacts. Mr. Tatsushi Tamagawa, currently the chief manager at Gyokusendo, is Master Norio Tamagawa's son. He started as an artisan at Gyokusendo. Since then, much has changed. He has seen the changing business landscape, the diversity in products, which he says directly or indirectly determines the mindset and working style of an artisan.
言われたものを、早くきっちり作るっていうのがでもいい職人だと思うんですけども、最近はプラス、いろいろこういう喋るものとかも今はそういうふうに、いろいろお客様に説明するとかそういうものも含まれて、全てこなしていい職人になるのかなという感じは最近はありますね。
Most fascinatingly, his son Keita, the youngest of the Tamagawas, also works under him at Gyokusendo. At 20, Keita is already an efficient beginner. Initially, driven by his grandfather's success when he joined the company, it was but a prized escape for Keita. But now, Keita is intensively working hard to attain the precision to be a better artist.
そうですね。どちらの方もすごい仕事に対して一生懸命で寡黙なので、そういうところを自分に取り入れられたらいいなとは思ってますね。なんか、僕のお父さんもだんだんおじいちゃんに真似してるっていうか似てきているのでなんかそうですね。おじいちゃんからはやっぱりちょっと仕事がすごいテキパキ早いので、そういうところをちょっと見習いたいなとは思いますね。そういうところです。はい。
Since the beginning of human civilization, art has evolved based on culture and vice versa. Nevertheless, the demand of changing times has had a detrimental role to play in its course and form. Whether it is Niigata or Kathmandu, artisans continue to express themselves in their artworks. There is little doubt the modern-day artisan's creativity, aided by modern technology, has not only helped preserve traditional skills, but also contributed to the ascent of human civilization.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from high-stake discussions at the World Economic Forum in Davos to TikTok's major US deal, groundbreaking achievements in space. We have got all the key headlines you need to know. Let's start with the World Economic Forum held this week in Davos. The World Economic Forum ended amid geopolitical shifts, with leaders debating trade tensions, global conflicts, climate risk, and the future of the cooperation in a fragmented world. US President Donald Trump drew attention by saying his proposed Board of Peace will work in conjunction with the United Nations, presenting it as a complementary effort to address international conflicts. Delegates from around the world convened in Davos to discuss a broad range of pressing issues, including escalating trade tensions, ongoing regional conflict, climate change risk, and the increasingly uncertain future of international cooperation in a fragmented world. The discussions highlighted the stark contrast between the nation's economic priorities and political strategies. While some countries emphasized the urgent need for multilateral cooperation to combat climate change and global economic instability, others focused on protecting national interest in an era marked by rising nationalism. Trade disputes between major economies, particularly between the United States and China, were a recurring topic of debate, as policymakers warned that prolonged tensions could slow global growth and disrupt supply chains. US President Donald Trump emerged as a focal point of attention during the forum, drawing both praise and criticism with his proposal for a new Board of Peace. According to Trump, the initiative would operate in a close coordination with the United Nations, serving as a mechanism to address international conflicts more efficiently.
Do other things. We can do numerous other things. Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do, and we'll do it in conjunction with the United Nations. You know, I've always said the United Nations has got tremendous potential, has not used it, but this is important. This board has the chance to be one of the most consequential bodies ever created, and it's my enormous honor to serve as its chairman. I was very honored when they asked me to do it.
As the forum concluded, many delegates highlighted the difficulty of achieving consensus in a fragmented global system. At the same forum in Davos, Ukrainian President Zelensky said that US President Trump's ability to maintain a dialogue with Russian President Putin could help bring about an end to the war in Ukraine. Russian, Ukrainian and US negotiators in the meantime are meeting in Abu Dhabi for what is expected to be the first trilateral talk since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Zelensky told journalists at the World Economic Forum in Davos that he believed President Trump could help end the war in Ukraine because he had a direct dialogue with Russian President Vladimir Putin, emphasizing that not everyone had that label of access. Zelensky also added he has reached an agreement with Trump on security guarantees to ensure the maintenance of peace in Ukraine following a possible cessation of the conflict with Russia. Zelensky also said the documents being drafted with Washington aimed at ending the nearly 4-year Russian invasion are nearly ready. Trump, meanwhile, after meeting Zelensky in Davos, called for Russia's war in Ukraine to end.
What do you mean by total? We're meeting with Russia. That'll take place tomorrow. We're going to be meeting with President Putin. I had a very good meeting with President Zelensky. Everybody wants to have the war end.
Separately, Russian, Ukrainian and US negotiators are meeting in Abu Dhabi for the first trilateral talks since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The discussions are being closely watched as a potential turning point in the conflict, offering an early test of Moscow's willingness to pursue a negotiated resolution. Japan has suspended operations at the nuclear plant hours after restarting a reactor after an alarm sounded during startup procedures, though the reactor remained stable, according to operator TEPCO. The restart of reactor number 6, the first at the plant since the 2011 Fukushima disaster, comes as Japan continues to a cautious return to nuclear power after shutting down old reactors following the catastrophic earthquake and meltdown. Reactor 6 had restarted on Wednesday, a day later than planned due to a separate alarm malfunction. It is the first reactor at the plant to be restarted since the 2011 Fukushima disaster, which followed a 9-magnitude earthquake and triggered a meltdown that forced more than 150,000 people to evacuate. Following the suspension, Tokyo Electric Power Company TEPCO's spokesperson Takashi Kobayashi said the reactor was stable and there was no radioactive impact outside. He added that TEPCO was investigating the cause of the incident and did not provide a timeline for when operations will resume. Prior to the scheduled restart, protests erupted outside the headquarters of Tokyo Electric Power Company in Tokyo as people gathered to oppose plans to restart the world's largest nuclear power plant. Many evacuees, meanwhile, have not returned despite government's assurance that the area is safe. The plant's 7th reactor is not expected to restart until 2030, and the remaining 5 reactors could be decommissioned, significantly reducing the plant's capacity compared with when all 7 were operational. TikTok has closed a deal that will allow the hugely popular short video app to continue operating in the US. The deal comes after a years-long tussle between Washington and Beijing that began in Trump's first term in the White House when he tried unsuccessfully to ban the app over national security concerns.
TikTok was due to be banned in the US in January 2025 if its Chinese owner, ByteDance, failed to sell its US operations to American investors. If its Chinese owner, ByteDance, failed to sell its US operations to American investors. But US President Donald Trump repeatedly postponed the enforcement of legislation to take down the application. The main source of contention was the application's powerful algorithm, which dictates the content recommended to users. Now that formula has been licensed to the application's American owners and will be trained only on US data. It is said this will certainly produce changes, but how exactly it affects the 200 million Americans on the app remains unclear. For years, Washington has been pressuring TikTok to sell its US operations, citing national security concerns over its Chinese owner, ByteDance. Lawmakers had expressed fears that Beijing could force the firm to hand over US users' data. Both TikTok and ByteDance have consistently denied the claim. The idea of a TikTok ban, first floated by Trump during his first term in 2020, gained momentum under Joe Biden's presidency. In 2024, Biden signed a law demanding that ByteDance sell TikTok or face a ban in the US. A legal battle ensued between ByteDance and the US government. And in January last year, the application went offline for US users for 12 to 14 hours. Meanwhile, President Trump welcomed TikTok's new majority American-owned joint venture and thanked Chinese President Xi Jinping for approving the deal.
A high-speed train derailed, then collided head-on with an oncoming service in Spain this week, killing at least 43 people and injuring more than 120 others. The accident is said to be one of the worst rail disasters in Spain as recovery operations continued this week. Carriages on a moderate-bound train derailed and crossed over to the opposite tracks, colliding with an incoming train in Adamuz. 400 passengers and staff were on board both the trains. Emergency services treated 122 people, with 48, including 5 children, still in hospital. Spanish transport minister said the death toll is not yet final, as officials have launched an investigation. It described the incident as extremely strange. The collision happened at 7:45 p.m. local time, about an hour after the train left Malaga, heading north to Madrid, when it derailed on a straight stretch of track near the city of Cordoba. The force of the crash pushed the carriages of the second train into an embankment. Rescue teams said the twisted wreckage of the trains made it difficult to recover people trapped inside the carriages. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has won a 7th term with a 71.65% of the vote, extending his rule since 1986. At the age of 81, Museveni will enter his 5th decade in office. People took to the streets of Kampala to celebrate after Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni was declared the winner of a disputed election, securing a 7th term in office. The announcement followed days of tension after a vote that was marred by reports of violence, a nationwide internet shutdown, and a heavy security deployment across the country. African election observers say the arrest and kidnappings of opposition supporters before and after polling day had instilled fear among voters, raising concerns about the credibility of the process. Opposition leaders rejected the results, alleging widespread intimidation, ballot irregularities, and the suppression of dissent.
Museveni, who has been in power since 1986, dismissed the accusations and defended the security measures as necessary to maintain order. Authorities said the internet blackout was imposed to prevent the spread of misinformation. Despite the controversy, state media showed supporters celebrating the result, highlighting the deep political divisions that continue to shape Uganda's political landscape.
Turkey's Kızılırmak Delta is home to 365 bird species, representing nearly 70% of the country's total, and serves as a key wintering and stopover site for migratory birds. The strictly protected area receives approximately 100,000 visitors annually. Turkey's Kızılırmak Delta has exceptional bird diversity and serves as a key wintering ground for migratory species. Located in Samsun, the Kızılırmak Delta bird paradise stands out for its rich biological diversity. Spanning 56,000 hectares, the delta is home to nearly 70% of all bird species found in Turkey, with a total of 365 species recorded. During the winter months, the delta becomes a vital refuge for migratory birds arriving from Siberia and northern Europe. Nearly 1,000 swans spend the winter season in the area, creating striking natural scenes for visitors. Welcoming around 100,000 visitors annually, the delta is designated as a strictly protected sensitive area. The wetland's role as a stopover and wintering site is considered critical for many bird species, while the presence of swans offers visitors a unique and memorable landscape. Conservation efforts focus on preserving the delta's wetlands, lagoons, and reed beds, which are essential for sustaining this fragile ecosystem. The delta continues to play a critical role in biodiversity conservation and awareness in Turkey. Villagers in Nepal's Himalayan foothills gathered to watch an annual bullfighting event held during the Maghe Sankranti festival, a Hindu celebration marking the start of the holy month of Magh and the transition to warmer weather and longer days. The event, which draws thousands of spectators, features pair of bulls pitted against each other in a public arena. Organizers say the tradition is closely tied to a local culture and is conducted under supervision.
The bulls are often adorned with colorful decorations, and local musicians play drums and horns to accompany the event, creating a lively and festive atmosphere. For villagers, the bullfighting tradition is closely tied to local culture, agricultural practices, and religious observances. It is seen as a way to honor the strength and vitality of livestock, which are central to the region's farming communities. Families prepare special foods and perform rituals during the festival, while young men and women participate in organizing the event, reinforcing community ties. While the practice draws enthusiasm from locals and tourists alike, animal welfare groups have occasionally raised concerns over the ethics of bullfighting. Organizers maintain that the event is conducted responsibly, with veterinarians present to monitor the animal's health and prevent serious injuries. Maghe Sankranti festival itself is celebrated across Nepal, particularly in the mid and far western regions. It includes offerings to the sun god, bathing in holy rivers, and preparing traditional foods such as sesame seeds, molasses, and yam. The bullfighting event is considered one of the festival's main attractions in the Himalayan foothills, reflecting a centuries-old blend of cultural celebration, religious observance, and community entertainment.
While in neighboring India, tens of thousands of Hindu pilgrims took part in the month-long Magh Mela festival along the banks of the Ganges River. Thousands of Hindu devotees gathered at the Sangam, the sacred confluence of the Ganges, Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati rivers, to bathe in the holy waters during India's annual 44-day Magh Mela festival. Pilgrims from across the country arrived in the early morning, braving winter cold, to take part in the ritual bathing, which is believed to bring spiritual liberation and cleanse devotees of their sins. The Magh Mela, held each year in the northern city of Prayagraj, is one of Hinduism's most important religious gatherings. Temporary camps, kitchens, and medical facilities have been set up along the riverbanks to accommodate the influx of worshippers, saints, and other people. Authorities deployed a large number of police and volunteers to manage crowds and ensure the safety at the sprawling festival site. The event blends devotion, tradition, and community, drawing millions over its duration and underscoring the enduring spiritual significance of India's. A long-serving extravehicular activity EVA spacesuit from China's Tiangong space station returned to the Earth this week aboard the Shenzhou 20 re-entry capsule. The suit spent more than 4 years in the orbit, exceeding its original design life.
A long-serving extravehicular activity spacesuit returned to the Earth on Monday aboard the re-entry capsule of China's Shenzhou 20 spaceship, concluding a distinguished service period spanning more than 4 years in orbit, far exceeding its original design life. Known as Spacesuit B, it was among a number of large scientific payload items sent back to the Earth on the unmanned Shenzhou 20 return capsule, which touched down in North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. The capsule's original return had been delayed due to concerns over damage sustained in a suspected space debris incident, while an alternative spacecraft was used to transport the 3 Chinese astronauts on the Shenzhou 20 mission safely back home in November. First launched in May 2021, Spacesuit B made its debut during the inaugural EVA conducted from the then under construction Tiangong space station in July 2021, when it was used as part of a landmark 7-hour spacewalk. Over the next 4.5 years, the suit supported 11 Chinese astronauts across 8 crewed missions, enabling 20 successful EVAs to be conducted. The 3 Shenzhou 21 astronauts arrived at the space station on November 1st, with the return capsule later being used to bring back the Shenzhou 20 crew members after tiny cracks were found in the viewport window of the latter spacecraft. The damage was likely caused by an external impact from space debris, according to China Manned Space Agency.
South Korea's military launched its first large-scale cold weather exercise, conducting intensive drills in a snow-covered mountainous terrain. The 2-month program includes battlefield surveillance, ski mobility, casualty evacuation, and operations using small explosive-laden drones.
The South Korean Marine Corps Special Brigade has launched its first large-scale cold-weather training exercise since its formation last year, conducting intensive drills in extreme winter conditions, including operations involving small drones. The 2-month training program, which began earlier this month, is designed to strengthen the brigade's ability to conduct deep penetration and missions during wartime. The newly established unit trained in snow-covered mountainous terrain where temperatures remained well below freezing. During the exercises, Marines performed cold exposure conditioning drills, including lying on snow-covered ground with bare torsos and sprinting up icy slopes to build endurance and resilience. Training scenarios focused on entering into enemy's territory, battlefield surveillance, and rapid response under ambush conditions. Ski-based mobility drills were also conducted to enhance mobility in deep snow, alongside casualty evacuation exercises simulating combat injuries in harsh terrain.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences this week announced nominations for the 90th Academy Awards, with the movie Sinners leading the field in a record-breaking year for the Oscars. Sinners received 16 nominations, the most ever for a single movie, as it surpassed the previous record of 14 nominations held by Titanic, All About Eve, and La La Land.
The Oscars nominations highlight a mix of established favorites and surprising contenders across multiple categories. In addition to Sinners, several other films received multiple nominations, reflecting both critical acclaim and popular interest. It is noted that this year's slate demonstrates the Academy's continued emphasis on diversity and international cinema, with films from outside the US earning significant recognition. Hosts Daniel Brooks and Louise Pullman kicked off the announcement with the Best Supporting Actress category, surprising many viewers by naming Elle Fanning for her role in Sentimental Value. Awards pundits had not widely predicted her nomination, signaling a year of unexpected choices and notable snubs. The nominations also underscore competitive nature of this year's Oscars, with multiple films vying for key awards in acting, directing, and technical categories. The 98th Oscars ceremony is being held on March 15 in Los Angeles.
The Netherlands marked its annual National Tulip Day this week. Thousands visited to see blooming tulips, while growers highlighted the Netherlands' flower industry and promoted sales ahead of the spring harvest.
Around 200,000 free tulips are being handed out at Museumplein in Amsterdam as part of Dutch National Tulip Day, marking the start of the country's international cut tulip season. The event, organized under the theme United in Bloom, draws locals and tourists alike who line up to collect the vibrant flowers and celebrate the Netherlands' iconic flower industry. The tulip season, which runs until the end of April, showcases the nation's status as the world's leading producer of cut tulips. During the 2025 season, the Netherlands produced an estimated 2 billion cut tulips, underscoring the scale and global importance of its floriculture sector. Dutch National Tulip Day combines tradition, tourism, and horticulture, offering a colorful start to the spring season while highlighting the economic and cultural significance of the tulip in Dutch life.
Well, that was the coverage of the Netherlands' iconic tulip flowers, and this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
A city known for its legacy, Kirtipur. Locals also call it Kipu in their own dialect. It is the largest ancient settlement after Kathmandu, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. The city still has an impressive Malla-era neighborhood. It is also home to Taudaha, the largest lake in the Kathmandu Valley. There are temples, monasteries, bihars, and stupas for both Hindu and Buddhist devotees, along with countless festivals and ritual celebrations that altogether give Kirtipur its distinct and special character. With its ancient Newar settlements, this place is a beautiful convergence of Newar culture and heritage. The 2nd century settlements here, the temples and the stupas, along with the legends and the faiths surrounding them, are fascinating. Situated beside the Kathmandu Valley, which once was a natural lake itself, Kirtipur developed as a flourishing hub of early settlement and culture. Because of this, the area is exceptionally valuable for historical and cultural study. A long time ago, the children of Kirtipur's farming families apparently made a clay tiger to play with while herding sheep and goats. To make that tiger look even more lifelike, they wanted to add a tongue. So they left their sheep and goats nearby and went into the forest to gather leaves for it. Upon returning, the children found their sheep and goats missing. And when they investigated, the clay tiger opened its blood-red mouth and claimed to have eaten the animals. Apparently, what had happened was that the deity Bhairav, a Hindu deity, had entered the clay tiger. In their anger, the children then cursed the clay tiger so that its mouth would remain perpetually open. This is the famous legend behind the Bagh Bhairav temple as remembered by the residents of Kirtipur. Bagh Bhairav is the revered deity of Kirtipur's residents. Situated in Kirtipur, this temple is accompanied by several smaller temples, many of which can be traced back to the 2nd century according to the historical records. Among them are temples dedicated to Yamaleshwar, Narayan, Bhavani Shankar, Ramchandra, Manavinayak, Vishwakarma, Sridhar Vishnu and Mool Ganesh, all of which were constructed in the 2nd century as per many inscriptions. The historical records mention that the Bagh Bhairav temple, originally made by Shivadev, was again renovated in the 16th century by Jagatpal Varma into a 3-tiered pagoda style. This makes the temple a central attraction of Kirtipur. Most Newar settlements, which are one of Nepal's ethnic groups, are adorned with temples and stupas. So Kirtipur is home to countless temples and stupas as well, too many to count by hand. The Uma Maheshwar temple here is located at the highest point in Kirtipur. From here, one can take in panoramic views of the entire Kathmandu Valley. Swayambhu, an ancient Buddhist stupa, is clearly visible from this vantage point. It is said that the temple's elevation is roughly the same as that of Swayambhu's. On clear days, the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, can also be seen from here. Uma Maheshwar, representing the Hindu deities of Shiva and Parvati in another form, is considered a symbol of family happiness and love. The temple's tiered roofs, its design, the surrounding houses, and the views are not only beautiful but also reflect its historical significance. It is an excellent place to explore and spend an entire day. Kirtipur is special not only for Hindu devotees but also for Buddhists. Its stupas and vihars are ideal for the study, research, and promotion of Buddhism. The Chilancho Stupa, located atop the hill, is said by historians to have been built during Emperor Ashok's visit to Nepal. Its renovation, however, took place in the 16th century during the time of Jagatpal Varma. This site is ideal for prayer and meditation. It feels like Chilancho spreads wisdom along with its fluttering flags under the open sky. It is said that seeing the hills surrounding the Chilancho Stupa, Prithvi Narayan Shaha, the 18th century king who unified Nepal, coveted Kirtipur. His attempts to capture Kirtipur, intended to make conquering Kathmandu, Bhaktapur and Patan easier, only succeeded on the third try. Facing south is Ratnasambhav, mounted on a horse and showing the Varad Mudra, which is a gesture of generosity and granting boons. Facing north is Amitabh, seated on a peacock in the meditation mudra, symbolizing infinite light and compassion. Facing west is Amogha, seated on a Garud with the Nag hood in Abhay mudra, a gesture of fearlessness and protection. At the center sits Vairochan, mounted on a lion and invisible, imparting profound knowledge of Buddhism. The presence of these 5 Buddhas is believed to guide those who have lost their way, whether it is in spiritual seeking or in travel. The stupas, vajras, and stone statues here are enchanting, capable of captivating visitors for hours. In Panga of Kirtipur, there is a cremation site. The deceased of the Panga community are cremated here, but this place is different from others. According to local tradition, one cannot stay behind after setting the body on fire. Normally in other places in Hindu tradition, after the cremation, the ashes are collected after a process that can take up to hours. Here, however, bodies are covered with 9 pieces of wood for adults and 7 for children, along with water-soaked straw. Then the fire is lit before it is time to leave the site. This tradition is only for the people of Panga. Next to the burial ground stands the Vishnu Devi temple, one of the several Shakti Peeth or sacred power sites of the people of Kirtipur. This stupa houses the Pancha Buddha, the depiction of 5 knowledge of Buddha. Facing east is Akshobhya, mounted on an elephant and with earth-touching gestures. The area is peaceful and known for its spiritual atmosphere. Kirtipur is not only famous for its monasteries and chaityas, it is also rich in history and culture. This place is known for its year-round festivals, rituals, and vibrant cultural way of life. Among the important festivals are the Satgaunle Jatra, Gai Jatra, Bagh Bhairav Jatra, and Indrayani Jatra. On the day of Gai Jatra, a special dance is performed here. The Dhya Dhya Papa dance, also called Katmar, is a ceremonial performance where dancers in unique costumes move to traditional music. It is an integral part of Kirtipur's cultural identity. Here, visitors can also find various hotels, homestays, and Newari restaurants. The Newari-style houses and pathways decorated with traditional materials are truly captivating, and the popular Newari restaurants, which draw people from all around, are plentiful. A beautiful example of Newari culture is Newari food, which include famous dishes like bara, yumari, and samay bhaji. And visitors relish these dishes with great enjoyment. Just before entering Kirtipur, you arrive at another beautiful spot, Taudaha. Known for its environmental, cultural, and religious significance, this pond stretches about 500 meters in length and 400 meters in width. It is said to be shaped like a funnel. Believed to be dwelling place of Karkotak Nag, a serpent king in Hindu-Buddhist mythology. This lake is closely linked to the legends of Manjushri, a Hindu-Buddhist mythological figure, and the Rato Machindranath Jatra, one of Nepal's oldest chariot festivals. According to the folklore, when the Kathmandu Valley was still a lake, Manjushri cut open the hills to draw the water. Serpents living there were left without a home, so Bhimsen, a powerful heroic figure in Nepali folklore, created Taudaha to shelter them. The famous poto or vest displayed during the Rato Machindranath Jatra also traces its origins to Karkotak Nagraj and Taudaha. Legend says the vest belonged to Karkotak Nagraj, who gifted it to a farmer after the farmer cured his sick serpent queen. When the farmer later lost the vest, the dispute over who truly owned it became the story behind the festival where the vest is displayed. Taudaha is rich not only in religious and cultural significance but also in biodiversity. The area is home to 38 species of plants, 36 species of insects, and 116 types of birds. Swans gliding across the lake, birds perched in nearby trees, colorful fish swimming below, and small snakes seen occasionally along the banks. All of it make it easy to lose track of time while observing this vibrant ecosystem. In winter, birds migrate here from Siberia, Mongolia, and Tibet to escape the cold. Species such as lahade, kalihas, khoya, malak, and birds like great cormorant and Indian pond heron are also found here at Taudaha. These migratory birds travel thousands of kilometers from various countries to reach this lake. As a wetland area, Taudaha hosts water, land, vegetation, aquatic animals, amphibians, and other wildlife all in one place. For this reason, the lake attracts everyone from casual tourists to students conducting research. As tourist numbers increase, so have vendors selling fish feed around Taudaha. These traders who stay around the lake from morning to evening occasionally also encounter snakes. But believing the snakes to represent Karkotak Nagraj, the traders drive them away by just burning incense. Just before reaching Taudaha, Chobar is a unique tourist spot in Kirtipur. Manjushri Park here is one of the popular picnic destinations. The cave, Chobar Gorge, Suspension Bridge, Jalvinayak Temple, and Adinath Lokeshwar Temple are all must-visit sites. This gorge is said to be where Manjushri cut the hills to drain water from the Kathmandu Valley, making it suitable for human settlement. Therefore, this place holds historical and mythological significance. Jalvinayak Temple is located along the Bagmati River. Among Kathmandu Valley's four main Ganesh temples, Surya Vinayak, Chandra Vinayak, and Ashok Vinayak, Jalvinayak is one of them. It is built in traditional pagoda style. Toran or archways, tudal or roof struts, and gajur or pinnacles enhance its architectural beauty. So this temple is significant both for religious faith and for historical and architectural value. Spread At over 14.76 square kilometers, Kirtipur has many places to explore, which cannot be fully visited in a single day. Its heritage, lifestyle, and festivals are all unique. To guide tourists before visiting, a tourist information and service center has been established. It lies near the Kirtipur's entry point. This center provides information about major tourist attractions and helps make the visit easier. Exploring Kirtipur's historical, religious, cultural, and natural sites is incredibly enchanting. These sites are witnesses to history. For research and study, visiting Kirtipur is essential. The local lifestyle, daily life, the breeze, and the scent of the soil here, all of it are very special. In modern times, as ancient civilizations threaten to vanish, Kirtipur strives to maintain its ancient identity. Its monasteries, temples, chaityas, ponds, markets, and even the language reflect this heritage. Kirtipur is not just a tourist destination. It offers experiences of meditation and knowledge, and of peace and beauty. Its stories and hospitality attract everyone. To witness and feel the unique confluence of history, culture, and nature, visiting Kirtipur is a must, not just once, but again and again.
"35 of us are in this bus that is transporting us to the aircraft from the waiting lounge of the Trivandrum International Airport's domestic terminal. All, of course, look busy, up to something. The bus starts to move, and within minutes we reach the aircraft at the taxi bay. We start boarding the aircraft one by one, to the warm welcome of the air hostess. The aircraft looks fully boarded for the flight to Chandragarhi Airport of Jhapa. However, our final destination is the famous Pathivara temple in Taplejung district. After nearly an hour's flight, we land at Chandragarhi Airport, trying to breathe fresh air and adjust ourselves. Our camera crew takes the opportunity to capture some unique local artifacts seen at the airport. As we wait for our vehicle outside, we have time to see the local lifestyle. Soon our vehicle arrives and we set for our main destination, Pathivara of Taplejung. Within 15 minutes we reach Charali. a major junction with Kakarvita towards the east, Ilam towards the north. We're trying to engage in the sights and sound of the Tarai. We head north towards Ilam, a natural paradise known for its agro-producers. The sheer pleasure of traveling in this natural paradise, crossing through settlements and jungles along the hilly road, reaches its climax when we arrive at the famous tea garden of Kanyam. No wonder Kanyam, our tourist hub with a perfect blend of natural beauty and economic activities, attracts us like a magnet. But our destination is still far away. We have to reach Taplejung at any cost today. After another 1.5 hours, we arrive at district headquarters of Ilam. It's a weekend day, Saturday, and the main market area is quiet. The very short time we spent enjoying the beauty of Ilam Bazaar was not enough, but we had to move on. It was almost dusk when we reached the highest point along the Mechi Highway, Rake Bazaar, along the border of Ilam and Pastar districts. A beautiful small hamlet known for its local producers. Rake is pretty windy, maybe because of its height, and we all feel a bit cold. However, this does not stop us from enjoying the local specialities. Our team moves on knowing that if we do not reach Taplejung today itself, our entire itinerary will suffer. It's dark now, and we are still on the roads, still at some distance. We cross the Fidim Bazaar, district headquarters of Pastar, but cannot see it properly as it was already dark. However, how can one forget the beautiful Fidim Bazaar and its red soil? Our caravan moves on irrespective of the time, and we are determined to reach Taplejung today at any cost. It was 11 p.m. when we reached Phungling Bazaar, the district headquarters of Taplejung. Early in the morning, the next day, once again we start our journey to the revered shrine. We were aware that a regional fair was taking place in Taplejung. The bazaar area has been decorated like a bride. There seems to be a competition among the locals in every nooks and corners of the city to decorate their place as the best. A large fair is going on at the open field with numerous cultural pageantries. The whole area is scenic and lively. However, we left Phungling Bazaar early with a promise to enjoy the place when we return from Pathivara. After nearly an hour's ride along the gravelled road, we arrive at Kafle Pati. This is the last destination till which we can have a ride. Now all on foot till we reach Pathivara. We are exploring Kafle Pati and the beautiful hill of Manavara behind Pathivara in the early morning sunlight. That hill is called Manavara, meaning a filled mano, or an ancient device to weigh grains, for its sheer resemblance. It looks a difficult place to reach. Thankfully, we have no intention of going there either. A few travelers apart from our team are also with us. The uphill climb for about 5 hours is waiting for us now. Long winding steps of rock lead us to the temple. The uphill walk of the stairs takes more than half an hour to reach Baldada. It's a small hamlet and resting place for travelers. We meet a group of youths who are returning from the temple. These jolly youths with guitar seem to have enjoyed a very musical trip to the temple. We also enjoy their music for some time. One of the many ways to forget our fatigue. After the brief musical break, our journey moves on. We haven't seen snow till now, but meet plenty of devotees already returning from the temple. Either they had left for the temple pretty early in the morning, or they must have stayed at Tulufedi, which is near the temple itself. The symmetrical steps and the rhododendron trees awaiting spring. Away from the hustle and bustle and pollution of the town, Pathivara is a serene and virgin destination. We try to listen to the experience of some of the devotees despite our fatigue. In a short while, we reach Tulufedi, the last bazaar and major human settlement before we reach Pathivara temple. Many travelers lodge at this place that also has a few hotels. For the first time, we see light rain and a bit of snow at this altitude. This beautiful bazaar has its own beauty as well as sorrow. This is a small trade center and lodging place for travelers.
अब कोही झापा कोही काठमाडौँ कोही अब उता अमेरिका कोही त्यस्तै युकेहरू अब यतै नेपालको मान्छे नै हो आउने त
ए त्यसरी आउनुहुन्छ हजुर तपाईले टेन्ट पनि राख्नु भएको छ नि
टेन्ट राख्नु भयो टेन्ट अब रुम हाम्रो थोरै छ त्यही भएर टेन्ट राखेको हो टेन्टमा पनि यसो सुतम भनेर
After a warm cup of tea in the cold weather, we resume our uphill walk to the temple. We see a huge copper gate made of all the copper utensils offered at the temple. Whoever are the lucky ones to have their offerings in the gate, it definitely welcomes the devotees first. A few meters away comes the temple of Kanchi Mata, or the youngest mother. Kanchi Mata is believed to be the youngest sister of Pathivara deity. We stop for some time at the temple, heavily covered by snow. Probably the most adventurous journey in the whole trek begins from here in the snow-white jungle. The trees have bloomed in white snow. The path is covered by snow, and the travelers of all age group marching ahead with equal enthusiasm. Every traveler is carrying something to eat like roasted corn, grams and ginger to minimize the risk of altitude sickness, as the uphill walk leads to higher elevation. Chances of losing foot grip in the snow are very high without a walking stick. Walking sticks are provided free of cost by the hotels, given that you promise to return them. The people here are very helpful. Despite the stony steps to climb, they are fully covered in snow. We continue our enjoyable journey forward, sometimes losing our foot grip and trying to forget our fatigue. It took us around 4 hours to reach the temple premises. The gate welcomes us a bit ahead. There are a few structures built here for those who want to make an overnight stop. Only the structures offer shelter, and the travelers have to manage the rest themselves. These hanging bells welcome as we enter the temple premises through the main gate. Inside the temple premises, one feels as if this is the capital of a pristine natural paradise. We start capturing the temple and its surroundings in our camera. It is Sunday, and maybe because of the snow factor as well, we do not see many people in the temple. Otherwise, even the security personnel deployed here struggle to manage the throng of devotees, especially on Saturdays. The idol of deity Pathivara has been kept under the open sky due to the belief that it cannot be kept inside any structure. Divine, amazing and attractive temple of deity Pathivara. The legend of the deity is really impressive. Even small natural artifacts, otherwise not notable, create great impressions in our memory during trips like this. How can we be ignorant to the fact that health and fitness is of paramount importance during such trips? So we take some rest in a nearby place and start munching the roasted corn so as not to keep our stomachs empty. Hunger can easily lead to altitude sickness at such elevation. People offer copper utensils including oil-fed lamps, credence, with the belief that their wishes would be fulfilled. We also noticed devotees offering prayers at the never-extinguished flame at the temple. There is huge cliff at the backside of the idol and big plain area towards the front side. The temples of other gods and goddesses in the premises look as if a divine army is guarding the deity. Popular belief is that paying homage at the temple fulfills all wishes, including children, peace, or prosperity. Sadly, we were deprived of the opportunity to enjoy the natural beauty of the surrounding due to inclement weather. However, we thoroughly enjoyed the snowfall. Every devotee seems happy and content for being able to pay homage here.
एकदमै राम्रो रहेछ तर बाटो चाहिँ अलि चिप्लो चिप्लो रहेछ हिउँ परेको कारणले तर राम्रो लाग्यो एकदम जस रमाइलो रहेछ
यहाँ आउन चाहिँ मलाई धेरै वर्षदेखि मन थियो बट कहिले सोचेको थिएन कि म यहाँ आउन सक्छु आज आउने मौका पायो सारै खुसी लागेछ
अद्भुत अनुभव भएको छ मलाई र आज मैले यो लगभग 4-5 घण्टाको जो यात्रा हामी तलबाट गरेका छौं हुन त हिउँ पनि परिरहेछ हिउँ परेको थियो हिउँ परे हुनाले अलिकति सम्लेर आयौं हामी तर अत्यन्त नै त्यस्तो केही छैन बाटोमा एउटा राम्रो तरिकाको एउटा अनुभव भएर हामी पुग्यौं माताको दर्शन भयो
It's really an ill attempt to travel to Pathivara during winter as the whole area gets blanketed by snow. But only those who dare know the sheer pleasure. It cannot be expressed in words. Apart from the question that how the place would look without snow, nothing can be as pleasing as reaching there in winter. Just for reference, this is how it looks without snow.
Nepali Congress becomes third party to announce prime ministerial candidate in advance. Move signals generational shift to woo voters. 49 candidates withdraw nominations for FPTP election for March 5. Former Prime Minister Bhattrai among the withdrawing candidates. President Paudel observed Basanta Shravan ritual at Hanuman Dhoka. Goddess of wisdom Saraswati worshipped on Sri Panchami today. Gold price in Nepal reaches a record high, exceeds over $2,000. Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi dissolves lower house. Move paves the way for a snap general election on February 8. And Sadabato Youth Club defeats Manang Mersangdi Club 1-0 under National League Football, registers their first victory of the season. Hello there, I am April Singh Lama. This is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in details. Nepali Congress has officially nominated party President Gagan Kumar Thapa as its candidate for Prime Minister. The nomination was proposed by Vice President Bishwa Prakash Sharma, supported by Vice President Pushpa Busal and approved by the Central Working Committee. Addressing party members at the Congress office in Sanepa, Thapa declared that he has transformed the party and is now committed to transforming the country. President Thapa emphasized that the party's sole focus moving forward is the nation's progress. Thapa's announcement marks the beginning of a new political chapter for both the Nepali Congress and Nepal's upcoming elections. Now, a total of 72 candidates have withdrawn their nominations for Nepal's upcoming House of Representatives election as the Election Commission finalized the candidate list and allocated election symbols. The Commission said 3,487 nomination papers were filed under the first-past-the-post system in 165 constituencies, of which 9 were rejected, leaving 3,406 candidates in the race. Candidate withdrawals were recorded across multiple political parties, reflecting strategic adjustments ahead of polling. Among those who withdrew is former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattrai, a prominent national political figure. With the final list published and symbols assigned, the Commission said election preparations have now entered their final phase. We will see more on this in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Now, Sri Panchami, also known as Basanta Panchami, a major Hindu festival in Nepal, is being observed today to honor Goddess Saraswati, the deity of knowledge, learning and the arts, and to mark the beginning of spring. Across the country, devotees visited Saraswati temples and families formally introduced young children to reading and writing, a traditional ritual believed to bring wisdom and academic success. Although the largest social ceremonies are being avoided this year due to astrological considerations. Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel observed the Basanta Shravan ritual at Hanuman Dhoka Darbar in Kathmandu, performing prayers to Goddess Saraswati. The ceremony, attended by senior officials and marked by a ceremonial salute from the Nepal Army, highlights the cultural and religious significance of the festival in Nepalese society. We will delve deeper on this in our cover story later in the bulletin. Now, gold and silver prices in Nepal have hit record highs, with a fine gold trading at 301,400 Nepali rupees, which is equivalent to $2,053 per 11.66 grams, and silver at 6,190 Nepali rupees, which is around $42 per 11.66 grams, according to the Federation of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Association. Gold surged by 9,200 Nepali rupees and silver by 320 Nepali rupees compared to yesterday's rates. On the global market, gold is trading around $4,960 per ounce and silver at $98 per ounce. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has dissolved the lower house, setting the stage for a snap general election on 8th of February. The announcement was made Friday by lower house Speaker Fukushiro Nukaga, with all 465 seats in the chamber up for grabs. This will be the first national election for Takaichi, Japan's first female prime minister, who took office 3 months ago, leading the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. The election comes as Takaichi seeks to leverage strong approval ratings amid domestic economic pressures, corruption scandals and rising tensions with China over Taiwan, while also delaying parliamentary approval of Japan's annual budget. Sattabato Youth Club registered their first victory of the season by stunning domestic powerhouse Manang Morsangdi Club 1-0 in the National League football match at Dasrat Stadium in Tripureshwar on Friday. The win comes after Sattabato drew with Sankata Club and suffered a defeat against Anati in their previous matches, giving the team a significant morale boost. Manang Morsangdi, one of Nepal's most successful football clubs, has now lost 3 consecutive league matches, including a heavy 5-0 defeat to Trivon Army FC and a 2-1 loss to Machindra FC. The unexpected result highlights the increasing competitiveness of Nepalese club football this season. Fans are now eagerly watching to see if Sattabato can maintain their momentum against stronger opponents. Now, with the March 5 elections drawing closer, political parties are racing ahead, declaring prime ministerial candidates even before the vote. This shows the race for the top post has begun even before ballots are cast. When we return after the break, we will delve into this further. Stay with us. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Time for Issue of the Day. Nepali Congress has become the third party to declare its prime ministerial candidate as March 5 elections to match the strategies of imminent rivals. Though there is no harm in declaring the candidate in advance, but is there a guarantee that the candidate will not change? As per constitutional provisions, only the leader of the parliamentary party of the political party can stake claim for the top post, not the Central Committee decided or Secretariat endorsed. Devendra Subedi looks into the newfound strategy of political parties that are declaring prime ministerial candidate in advance.
Nepali Congress Central Committee's second meeting under new President Gagan Kumar Thapa has unanimously decided to hit the election floor with Thapa himself as the poster boy. Congress is the third party to declare the prime ministerial candidate to match the strategies of the rivals. Rashtriya Swatantra Party (RSP) was the first to decide the prime ministerial candidate in former Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah, who joined the party much later than the declaration. CPN UML was not far behind, as its secretariat meeting expectedly decided to project Chair KP Sharma Oli as its prime ministerial candidate. This is an entirely new practice in Nepali politics, something not seen in any of the parliamentary elections since 1990. Constitutionally, the decision of a party instrument on who will be the next prime minister does not matter. As per the provision, leader of the parliamentary party that is formed by the elected lawmakers of the lower and the upper houses of the federal parliament is eligible to become the prime ministerial candidate. If that is the legal provision, why are the parties declaring their prime ministerial candidates one by one? Analysts say it is a move to show that the party is coming to the election with fresh air, a new face to lead the country.
There is a desperation a generational shift. That look, there's a new face. We have a new person on the one hand. On the other, one of the old parties. Okay, this is our candidate. So it's going to be, in that sense, a national competition between and among certain faces. It's also going to affect the national mood to some extent.
While CPN-UML has not been much vocal on championing former Prime Minister Oli as the candidate, RSP and Nepali Congress are very loud and aggressive, most likely because Gagan Papa and Balendra Shah are the new faces who, to a larger extent, reflect the sentiments of recent Gen Z movement in the country. Though there is no meaning of a party instrument declaring a candidate ahead of the election, this has been done to woo the voters by showing that the party has embraced change. Political analyst Bishnu Sapkota says, though Nepali Congress and CPN-UML might not have any issues in their parliamentary parties, different party and parliamentary party leader in the past have evoked ugly confrontation for prime ministerial berth.
When the party goes to the election with somebody as a prime minister, then there will be a definite moral pressure within the party and from the public if the party does not accept that person or does not propose that person formally to be the prime minister when the opportunity comes. So I think we have to look at it in these two ways.
Though there is no guarantee that the parties who have declared their prime ministers in advance will bag majority or get to lead the coalition, but a question arises. What will happen if the announced candidate does not get the favor of the parliamentary party?
When you win the election and if you don't propose the person, the candidate as prime minister, that will be not only misleading, that will be a betrayal to the public.
Now, in this context, we asked the public about what is their say on political parties declaring prime ministerial candidate ahead of the March 5 election. Here's what they had to say.
So in my opinion, I think the political parties are using popular faces in the election that they are claiming of becoming the prime minister. And I think it is just a basic strategy because of the work that they have, the popular faces have done and the impact that they have provided to the society.
I think this might be the new strategy of people bringing up their new faces to the public and to make their party to strong and to win the election. There's nothing proven or given authority by the Constitution of Nepal right now, but maybe later it might happen, but this time I think it's a strategy.
I mean, it's misleading in some because not a lot of Gen Zs knows about parliament system. Due to inexperience, and most of them are just following the crowd. They think that they can directly vote for prime minister, they can directly elect Balen as prime minister, but that's not really the case. Parliament system is much more vast and complicated than that.
यो चाहिँ मलाई अलि चित्त बुझेन हैन हामीले चाहिँ भोट गर्ने भनेको प्रधानमन्त्री बनाउनलाई होइन सांसद बनाउनलाई हो
यो चाहिँ ठुला पार्टीले आफूले आफूलाई चाहिँ यो विचार गर्नुपर्ने हो किनभने घोषणा गर्दै गर्दाखेरि संविधान विपरीत हो कि संविधान सम्मत हो हैन यो चाहिँ आफैले बुझेर नगर्दाकै राम्रो हुन्थ्यो भन्ने कुरा हो इन आवर कन्ट्री एज पर द डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम इट इज नॉट सुइटेबल टु डिक्लेयर द प्राइम मिनिस्टरियल कैंडिडेट but it is the whole world practice that to clarify to the citizen of that country, every parties are just pushing their candidates as the prime ministership. That's the following in our country also. It is the same things the following. One of the good part regarding this is the citizens gets clear that which person is going to represent our country as the prime minister.
The former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai is among 72 candidates who have withdrawn their candidacy for the upcoming House of Representatives election, as the Election Commission on Friday published the final list of candidates and assigned election symbols to independent contenders. According to the Election Commission, a total of 3,487 nomination papers were registered under the first past the post system across 165 constituencies. Of these, 9 nominations were rejected, while 72 candidates representing various political parties, including Vatrai, formally withdrew, leaving 3,406 candidates in the race. The Election Commission stated that under the proportional representation system, ballot papers totaling 15 million have already been printed. For proportional representation, 3,213 candidates nominated by 63 political parties have been listed under 57 election symbols. The Commission said independent candidates have been assigned election symbols based on a selection process prepared by the Commission itself. With the final candidate list published and symbols allocated, election preparations have entered their final phase ahead of polling. One of the 4 former prime ministers in the fray for March 5 election, Dr. Baburam Bhattarai, has withdrawn his candidacy from Gorkha 2. In a message shared on social media, the Pragatishil Loktantrik Party chair said he decided to step aside at the request of leaders from other parties, including the Rashtriya Swatantra Party.
मसँग विभिन्न पक्षका साथीहरू, विभिन्न दलका साथीहरू, नयाँ पुराना दलका व्यक्तित्वहरूले चाहिँ साथमा आएर सल्लाह सुझाव के दिनुभयो भने तपाईहरु जस्तो व्यक्तित्वले एउटा साझा व्यक्तिको रूपमा रहनु उपयुक्त हुन्छ र एउटा सांसदको रूपमा एउटा दल विशेषको मात्रै रहँदाखेरि तपाईको भूमिका संकुचित रहन सक्छ र फेरि देशको जुन अहिले तरल अवस्था छ त्यसले अझै निश्चित आकार ग्रहण गरिसकेको पनि छैन। त्यसैले तपाईले चाहिँ चुनावी प्रतिस्पर्धामा लाग्नु भन्दा राजनीतिक दलहरुलाई, भोलि बन्ने सरकारलाई विभिन्न ढंगले सल्लाह सुझाव दिएर भूमिका निर्वाह गर्दा नै बढी उपयुक्त हुन्छ भन्ने साथीहरुको आग्रह पनि रह्यो, दलहरुको पनि रह्यो, व्यक्तिहरुको पनि रह्यो र त्यहाँका जनताको पनि सुरुमा त्यहीको प्रतिनिधित्व भइदिए हुन्थ्यो भने जुन सोच थियो यो तर्क सुनिसकेपछि ठिकै छ भन्ने कुराहरु पनि आयो। कुनै कार्यकारी भूमिकामा नरहने र निर्वाचन पनि नलड्ने मैले उद्घोष गरे।
Now, as winter fades and spring awaits its arrival, Nepal celebrates Sri Panchami, a festival deeply tied to nature and new beginnings. Stay with us for more on this after the break. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Welcome back. Sri Panchami, also known as Basanta Panchami, was celebrated across Nepal today, marking a major Hindu festival dedicated to goddess Saraswati, the deity of knowledge, learning and the arts. Observed on the 5th day of the lunar month of the Nepali month of Magh, the festival is traditionally associated with the arrival of spring and the beginning of longer days. Devotees across the country visited Saraswati temples, while many families formally introduced young children to reading and writing on this day, believing it brings wisdom and academic success. Professionals such as teachers, students, writers, artists, and musicians also worship their tools of work, symbolizing respect for learning and creativity. In Hindu faith, Basanta Panchami is considered an auspicious day for social and religious ceremonies without the need for astrologically fixed timings. However, such ceremonies are not being performed this year in Nepal due to the unfavorable astrological position of Venus. Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel observed the traditional Basanta Shravan ritual at a special ceremony held at Nasal Chowk in Hanumanthoka Darbar on the occasion of Basanta Panchami, also known as Sri Panchami. President Paudel listened to a special melody chanted by the priest of Hanumanthoka Palace on the occasion. The ceremony included worship of Goddess Saraswati and was attended by the First Lady, Vice President, Prime Minister, senior government officials and other dignitaries, with the Nepal Army offering a ceremonial salute. Basanta Panchami marks the beginning of spring and is traditionally associated with prayers for knowledge, peace and prosperity. Saraswati Puja, or festival dedicated to knowledge, wisdom and learning, continues to shape how Nepali children begin their educational journey, blending age-old traditions with ideas echoed in modern theories of child development. Rooted in Nepal's rich multicultural heritage, the ritual marks a symbolic first step into education through faith, culture and learning. Siva Prasad Upreti brings a report.
If you are Nepali, you might know the cultural significance of celebrating Saraswati Puja, a tradition that facilitates children for their formal schooling. Saraswati, one of the Trinity goddesses in Hindu theology, refers to the deity of knowledge, wisdom, arts and speech. Not just a ritual, it aligns with famous theories of psychology related to learning and child development. From school to universities, this ritual is celebrated in Nepal, where children are inspired to write their first letters formally, indicating entry of their schooling. Psychologist Kapil Sharma says, Saraswati Puja, though it is a traditional ritual, shows its alignment to modern theories of learning and child development.
If we see the relationship of the Saraswati Puja with the modern psychology, we can relate in a couple of theories. From the point of social learning theory, children learn not just from the books, but by observing the adults, peers, seeing the teachers and elders, honoring the learning experience. This shared behavior reinforces the motivation and attitude towards the education as well. If you look from the point of view from Lev Vygotsky's ideas, the learning happens based in the social and cultural context. And Saraswati Puja creates exactly that culturally rich space where children can internalize the value, emotional intelligence as well. It is the theory developed by the Daniel Goleman. Rituals like the Saraswati Puja helps students or the children to regulate their emotion, helps them to teach the patience, gratitude, humility.
Nepal's numerous rituals, deeply rooted in cultural and religious traditions. They are not just a ritual, instead tied with deep and profound meaning. They foster the understanding of life, promote living and maintain peace, increasing happiness and satisfaction. Saraswati Puja significantly serves and aligns with crucial theories of psychology related to learning and development that help in the holistic growth of children.
Generic Education Materials Center has so far printed a total of 14.28 million ballot papers. According to the details provided by the center, 1.16 million ballot papers have been printed in the last 24 hours alone. The center has stated that a total of 28.3 million ballot papers need to be printed. Similarly, a total of 11,478 boxes of ballot papers have been packed. The center has stated that only 1,226 boxes have been packed in the last 24 hours. The center has sent 198,200 sample ballot papers to the commission. Election Commission of Nepal says all parties' preparations are complete for the National Assembly elections scheduled for Sunday, January 25. Speaking at a press conference in Kathmandu, Commission spokesperson Narayan Prasad Bhattrai confirmed that key procedures including candidate nominations, scrutiny, final candidate lists, symbol allocation and the distribution of ballot papers have all been finalized. Voting will take place from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. local time at designated polling centers in the country's 7 provincial capitals with 18 National Assembly seats at stake. One candidate, Sunil Bahadur Thapa of the Nepali Congress, has already been elected unopposed, while voting will be held for the remaining 17 seats. Under Nepal's electoral system, voters include provincial assembly members and local government leaders, and the commission said it will finalize the voter list after accounting for officials who resigned to contest elections for the lower house of parliament. Now, Nepal's National Assembly convened today with Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal, presenting 3 key ordinances, including amendments to the Voters List Act, the House of Representatives Member Election Act, and the Nepal Special Service Act. Kamala Pant, chairperson of the Committee on Development, Economic Affairs and Good Governance, tabled the National Integrated Policy Study Report, while Tulasa Kumari Dahal, chair of the Legislative Management Committee, presented the committee's report on the Tourism Bill. Chair Narayan Prasad Dahal read letters from the President's office regarding the formation of the Council of Ministers and the assignment of their responsibilities. The Assembly also passed a condolence motion honoring the late former ministers Rishikesh Gautam, Muhammad Aftab Alam, Amod Prasad Upadhyay, Homnath Dahal, and former MP Krishna Kumari Shrestha. The next session of the Upper House is scheduled for Tuesday, January 27 at 1:15 p.m. Now, the Nepal government has approved the use of 5 ropani of land in Bhaktapur for the Provincial Public Health Laboratory and 1 ropani in Kavrepalanchok for the Drinking Water and Sanitation Division No. 3 in Sindhupal Chowk. Cabinet spokesperson and Home Minister Om Prakash Aryal confirmed the decisions taken at the January 22nd meeting. The government also approved publishing the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol in the Nepal Gazette.
सिद्धार्थ राजमार्ग बुटोल पोखरा खण्ड सुधार आयोजनाको तयारीका लागि एसियाली पूर्वाधार लगानी बैंकबाट उपलब्ध हुने 2 मिलियन अमेरिकी डलर बराबरको अनुदान सहायता स्वीकार गर्ने, तोकिएको उद्योग व्यवसायको क्षेत्रमा स्वचालित मार्ग अटोमेटिक रुटबाट हुने विदेशी लगानीको माथिल्लो सीमा हटाउन स्वीकृति दिने, 2082 भदौ 23 र 24 गतेको प्रदर्शनको क्रममा भएको भौतिक एवं मानवीय क्षतिको यथार्थ छानबिन गरी प्रतिवेदन पेश गर्न गठित जाँचबुझ आयोगको म्याद 20 दिन थप गर्ने.
Now, can you believe that colors can be a powerful tool to empower women? In Kapilvastu, art moved beyond aesthetics, becoming a platform for expression, culture and empowerment through a Rangoli competition rooted in our tradition. Our colleague Sarah Sapsanama Rai, along with our local correspondent Basudev Burma, brings the story of empowerment with colors.
Red, yellow, green. These colored powders may seem ordinary, but here they carried the confidence of women claiming their space through art. With the aim of empowering women through the promotion of Awadh region painting and ground art, a Rangoli competition was organized in Tauli Hawa, the district headquarters of Kapilvastu. Artists used colored powders on the ground to create Rangoli artworks depicting Ram Temple, Goddess Sita and Lord Ram, focused on promoting Awadh painting and ground art while strengthening women's participation in cultural expression. The program hosted artists from 11 different groups.
केवल कपिलवस्तु नगरपालिकाभित्र लुकेका प्रतिभालाई मात्रै बाहिर नल्याई छिमेकी पालिकामा रहेको प्रतिभालाई समेटेर अगाडि ल्याएको कारणले पनि वास्तवमा यो संस्थालाई म विशेष धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु.
जसमा चाहिँ हामीले अवधि लोकचित्रकला अवधि लोककलालाई चाहिँ प्रस्तुत गरिएको छ. तपाईहरुले यहाँ हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ. अब उहाँले देखाउनुहुन्छ डिफ्रेन्ट ग्रुपले 11 जनाको ग्रुपले डिफ्रेन्ट चाहिँ रंगोली बनाछन् अनि त्यो रंगोलीमा चाहिँ झल्काउने कोसिस के छ भने अवधि हाम्रो जुन हिस्टोरिकल एउटा एन्शियन्ट अवधि लोककलालाई प्रस्तुत गर्ने चाहिँ कोसिस गरिएको छ.
The organizers also adjudged the winners and rewarded accordingly with cash prize and certificates. The event also marked 2 years since the consecration of infant form of Lord Ram, Sri Ram Lalla, in Ayodhya, India. It added cultural and religious significance to the women-led artistic celebration.
International news coming up next, but before that, let's take a look into the headlines once again. Nepali Congress becomes third party to announce prime ministerial candidate in advance. Move signals generational shift to woo voters. 49 candidates withdraw nominations for FPTP election for March 5. Former Prime Minister Bhattarai among the withdrawing candidates. President Paudel observed Basanta Shravan ritual at Hanuman Dhoka. Goddess of wisdom Saraswati worshipped on Sri Panchami today. Gold prices in Nepal reaches a record high, exceeds over $2,000. Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi dissolves lower house. Move paves the way for a snap general election on February 8th. And Sadabato Youth Club defeats Manang Marsangdi Club 1-0 under National League Football, registers their first victory of the season. Russia, Ukraine and the United States held talks in the UAE, marking the first meeting with all three countries since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine nearly 4 years ago. The Kremlin confirmed Russian participation following a meeting in Moscow between President Vladimir Putin and U.S. envoys. Russian officials described the discussions as productive, but emphasized that a long-term peace agreement depends on resolving territorial disputes. The meeting included Putin, 2 senior Russian aides, and 3 U.S. representatives, including Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Russian officials said discussions were substantive, but that any durable settlement is contingent on the future status of disrupted territories in eastern Ukraine. The three sides are expected to focus on the modality of negotiations and security guarantees for Ukraine. The United States has officially withdrawn from the World Health Organization, ending decades of membership in the global health body. The decision was jointly announced by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. following an executive order signed by President Donald J. Trump. In a statement, the administration accused the WHO of failing during the COVID-19 pandemic, acting against U.S. interests and operating under a politicized and inefficient bureaucracy. All U.S. funding and staffing support for WHO initiatives has now ceased. Washington says future global health engagement will take place through direct bilateral partnerships instead. The move marks a significant shift in international public health cooperation and has drawn concern from global health experts worldwide. Now, the U.S. House of Representatives has narrowly rejected a resolution aimed at preventing President Donald Trump from deploying American troops to Venezuela without congressional approval. The vote ended in a 215-215 tie, which automatically resulted in the resolution's defeat. Only 2 Republicans joined all Democrats the supporting measure. The resolution introduced by Representative Jim McGovern invoked war powers legislation to limit unauthorized military actions. The outcome highlights growing divisions within the Republican-controlled Congress and underscores House Speaker Mike Johnson's fragile grip on the majority. A similar resolution in the U.S. Senate was also deadlocked last week, raising questions over congressional oversight of U.S. military actions in the region. Now, Syrian government forces have begun transferring Kurdish fighters from a prison in northern Syria following a weekend agreement involving security authorities. Buses and vehicles were seen leaving the Al-Aqtan prison overnight. The facility had been holding Kurdish fighters responsible for guarding Islamic State detainees. The transfer is part of broader coordination efforts as Damascus seeks to reassert control over parts of the north amid shifting alliances. Details of the agreement remain limited, but the move comes as concerns persist over the security of thousands of Islamic State prisoners held in detention facilities across the region. The development highlights the fragile and complex security situation in post-conflict Syria. Now, residents of Iraq's second-largest city, Mosul, experienced a rare moment of joy as snowfall blanketed parts of the northern Nevada province. Snow is an uncommon sight in the region, drawing families outdoors to celebrate the unusual weather. Mosul was once the last major stronghold of the Islamic State between 2014 and 2017 before being retaken by Iraqi forces with US-led coalition support. The battle left much of the city in ruins. Today, shopkeepers and residents continue rebuilding with limited resources while awaiting war reparations. For many, the snowfall offered a brief but powerful symbol of renewal after years of conflict and hardship. Now time for a short break before we head on to the business update.
TikTok says it has finalized a deal that will allow the short video app to continue operating in the United States, avoiding a potential ban over national security concerns. The agreement follows years of tension between Washington and Beijing that began during President Donald Trump's first term. Under the deal, TikTok has created a majority American-owned joint venture to run its U.S. business. The app's powerful recommendation algorithm has now been licensed to its American owners and will be trained only on U.S. user data. Experts say changes are likely, though the impact on TikTok's 200 million American users remain unclear. The French government has survived 2 no-confidence votes in Parliament over its handling of the 2026 budget. Lawmakers failed to gather enough votes to topple the government after it pushed through part of the budget without a final parliamentary vote. Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu is expected to again invoke Article 49(3) of the Constitution to force the remaining budget through Parliament. President Emmanuel Macron's minority government has struggled to pass deficit-cutting measures amid deep political divisions. France has faced rare political instability in recent months. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk says humanoid robots could reach the market as early as next year. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Musk described robots as potential helpers for households, childcare, and daily tasks. He acknowledged the rapid pace of artificial intelligence development, a topic that continues to spark debate about its long-term impact on jobs and society. Chinese authorities are set to open duty-free shops, each at 41 listed ports of entry to the country, including airports, seaports, and land border crossings, aiming to facilitate tax-free shopping for inbound travelers. 5 government departments, including the Ministry of Finance, made the announcement on Wednesday. They define port of entry duty-free shops as stores located within the restricted zones of airports, seaports, or land border crossings. Spread across the country, these stores will only offer duty-free goods to inbound international passengers. China has also been expanding its visa-free entry policies and refining tax refund upon departure services for international tourists in recent years. A U.S. travel magazine, Travel Awaits, has listed Vietnam's Phu Quoc Island among its top 10 trending destinations for 2026. The magazine highlights growing interest in unspoiled natural locations, pointing to Phu Quoc's clear waters, white sand beaches, and vibrant sunsets. It also notes the island's local culture, including night markets, pepper farms, and traditional fish sauce production. Tourism officials see the ranking as a sign of rising global travel demand in Southeast Asia.
Time for sports update. Nepal will play its 3rd match under the ICC Women's T20 World Cup Global Qualifier at TU Cricket Ground, Kirtipur on Saturday. After suffering defeats in their first two matches, Nepal faces a must-win situation as they take on Zimbabwe. Placed in Group B, Nepal has failed to open their points account after losing 2 of their 4 group matches so far. The Nepali side must win their remaining 2 matches and also rely on favourable results from other teams to advance to the next stage. Time for a weather update, first from Nepal and from around the world. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a look into the headlines once more. Nepali Congress becomes third party to announce prime ministerial candidate in advance. Move signals a generational shift to woo voters. 49 candidates withdraw nominations for FPTP election for March 5. Former Prime Minister Bhattrai among the withdrawing candidates. President Paul observed Basanta Shravan ritual at Hanuman Doka. Goddess of wisdom Saraswati worshipped on Sri Panchami today. Gold prices in Nepal reaches a record high, exceeds over $2,000. Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi dissolves lower house. Move paves the way for a snap general election on February 8th. And Sadabato Youth Club defeats Manang Marsiangri Club 1-0 under National League Football. Visitors their first victory of the season. That is all for the moment. Do join us through our social media and visit us at www.nepaltelevision.com for more information and news. I am Ipulagi Singh Lama. Thank you for watching. Good night.